you getting yourself ready for our show?
All right, everybody, Jigs and Bigs. Once again, it's Tuesday. We've got an amazing show for you guys. This week on Jigs and Bigs, your boy Bobby does the Shires, while Sean has a weekend of a lifetime. And both of us fat bastards, we talk some food. We talk a lot of food, actually. Just the tip this week, we got items that you need to have with you on every single trip. All sorts of tourney news on top of that. Plus, in the bait of the week, we're going to talk about Nedhead specifically. And There's going to be a good conversation in that segment right there. We capped things off this week talking some music. You're going to want to stick around and make sure you check all this stuff out, guys. We're going to educate you all just a little bit. Go ahead and get yourself something nice and tasty to enjoy. Ready to sit down and absorb this podcast live form content greatness. We'll go ahead. We'll see you guys just a bit. Well, here we are. It's another Tuesday. It's more Jigs and Bigs good stuff for you guys. I'm Bobby Roast Beef. I got Sean the Fisherman with me. Sean, how are you this evening?
I feel great now that I've been rudely awakened from my coma.
Yeah. It's a good thing. I should send a thank you note because that would have been tough. It would have been like one of those things. You ever see the Family Guy with the deaf, like the deaf gym, I don't know what the team was, but they're like, oh, they just never showed up. And there's like a room closed that says like deaf contingency, and there's like all these alarm clocks sounding, wake up! Nobody's fucking waking up. I'm stupid.
Yeah, that's where I was at.
That's where you were? Done deal?
I was fucking out.
See, that's the other thing too. Last week we were talking about iPhone alarm clocks. You could set the right one, and sometimes it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. I went right through mine. It didn't. There's a reason I slept through my alarm clock. We'll get into that.
We'll get into it.
We'll start talking about weeks.
Hell yeah. It's been crazy. Jerry, our jighead, Jerry, multi-species house says, not much multi-species shit happening lately. Buddy, you ain't kidding. Oh my God. All I can catch, this is just the way it is too, I feel, during the Jigs and Bigs multi-species tournaments. When we're in one of those, I'm not hooking up with any multi-species stuff at all. It's just all bass. Thankfully, I have been getting on some decent bass. Not the numbers I'd like to be seeing, but things are slowly improving. I'll go and kind of cover like my week of fishing, how things have gone. Last Sunday I went out and I had a great show. We talked about that, how I finally got on one at like the 0 hour. It was crazy. So I was going into this week knowing that we were going to see a shift in the weather, and I was a little bit concerned. I was not going to lie to you guys. I was a little bit concerned how the downtick and after that cold front was going to affect things, and I was still able to get on some. So let's call up Angler and take a look at my log and figure how we did. So I had 3 sends. The first one was Tuesday. I usually try to go out on Tuesdays. That way I can quality control the show while I'm out fishing. It's kind of how I like to do it. Went out, I did a send that was a little over 3 hours in total, and I only connected with 1 fish. It was a decent one, though. It was a 15-incher, which was, better than I had been catching at this body of water. This is the one I've been hammering all week. Now, this is the only time this week that I've fished that is on the 9th. So we go back, and then I did a bank send just one afternoon. I spent most of the next day because my wife is finally on summer vacation. For somebody who works with the school department, you would think she'd have the summer off. No. So she was only working one of her multiple jobs. It happened to be the evening one. So during the day, we were just hanging out, spending the day together, and I can only take so many podcasts about unsolved murders and terrible news. So I told her, I was like, I got to go catch some fish. I'm gonna go catch some fish, knowing, and I was planning my weekend on Saturday while this was all going on. So I decided to go out, and I went out, and I've been this has kind of been the year of the Ned rig for me, man. And we're going to talk about that in the bait of the week. I had gone out. I've been doing this more often when I do a bank send, and all I bring with me is my favorite Ned combo, a handful of my terminal tackle box, basically, and my soft plastics. That's it. I take it out. I go, and I got on some. I managed to get on 4, like 2 of them right away. And these were vicious bites. And this was Tuesday. No, this was Wednesday. This was after that cold front. And we were starting to work up to, I believe we had a supermoon this week, right?
We did. We did, in fact, have the last supermoon of the year.
Yeah.
Sturgeon moon.
Oh. So I had gone and, this one little bank send, I was out there for about 90 minutes and I got on 4 fish. All of them painfully close to cover. Like most of them were either up against a dam area that I was fishing. Some were just tight up against wood, very, very shallow for the most part, and just absolutely crushed this Ned. I forget what plastic I was using. Actually, I think the plastic I was using was just a 3-inch paddle tail. Just got absolutely crushed. Absolutely crushed. Yeah, it was fun. I love those kinds of days. It'd be nice if any of those fish were over 17 inches. That seems to be like the magic number for bass right now that we're having a hard time getting over. So that was the 10th. And then Saturday I had gone out to a place that you haven't been to in quite some time because of, and the longtime listeners will know, this is the site of the Goose Wing Assault, is what it was. And so I don't know if I'm a shitty friend or not, but I did not inform my co-pilot for that day, that outing, about any of this stuff at all. I didn't tell him a goddamn thing. I didn't tell him to stay clear of the bank. I didn't tell him, like, hey, oh, by the way, there might be, Sasquatch, like, roaming around back here. There's some fucking weird-ass ritualistic stuff going on. Who knows? I didn't tell him a damn thing.
Probably for the best.
I think I agree. I really do. But my thinking was, I'm not coming up here alone. Obviously, I'm like, we're gonna go. So I'm gonna make sure to bring somebody else out here to at least kind of have my back. And I also think that is a great fishery.
Incredible.
It's wonderful. It really is. It's just beautiful. Anywhere in the Berkshires is beautiful. You go out in the Berkshires, man, and it's nice. So Paul and I had connected that morning. He brought his boat over here. We loaded up. I rented the larger trailer, loaded that sucker up with my boat and his boat, got all of our gear together, and I went out there on a mission. So I went and I consulted my records because I have records reflecting on this body of water. And I have never caught a fish under 15 inches there.
Wow.
And I still have not caught a fish under 15 inches there. And I've only ever caught them, I've caught them now on 3 baits. I went there with, I've caught 2 of the biggest on wake baits, and the third at that time was on a jig. So, of course, I had a wake bait and a jig tied on, but I went from I brought the entire spectrum. I was out throwing a heavy wake bait, like a 4.5 ouncer, all the way down to a 16th ounce Ned. And it was the Ned that got the job done. It was crazy. I had gone out and I was throwing the wake around initially, and then I wanted to cover water a little bit faster, so I started throwing a buzzbait, size down in a special color that you and I have talked about before that seems to produce there. And I wasn't even really using that buzzbait to get bites and necessarily catch fish. I just wanted to find where they were. Once I got some kind of a reaction, then I could work another bait over there. So continue to work the bait, nothing's biting, and then I realized that Paul is also throwing topwater, so I said, I'm going to go subsurface. While he's doing that, I'm going to let him work and throw topwater. I'm going to go subsurface. So the first thing I had thrown was a jig at some timber, and no bites on that, no bites at all around this way out. And, now there's a spot where there's lots of lily pads all over the place and tons of wood lying down everywhere. And I get over there and I throw out a Senko in this magical color that we've talked about in the past, and it gets bumped. So that gives me hope that, like, okay, maybe finesse is kind of the way that we're going to go. We'll see what happens. And I'm throwing that around, and it gets bumped, and that's it. I ended up downsizing to the Ned rig, and I worked this entire bank, and I ended up meeting with Paul on this one point. And I'd been getting these little bites all the time. And this is why I think it's interesting, because I feel these bites were either small pickerel or maybe even perch, just because of the way they were attacking the bait. Kind of makes me think that these weren't bass. And I did get a follow on a Ned rig from, what was it? There's not trout up there, is there?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I don't know if it was like a freaking, must have been a perch or something that I saw, but it didn't look like a bass. It was small. I just saw it moving. So I was like, okay, we're good. Paul gets fed up fishing shallow and decides to take a cast out deep with a Texas rig, dragging a craw. And I think his third cast, he just hooks into one, big one. And he was psyched. This is the first decent fish of this year that he caught. It came in at 15 inches, and he was stoked. So, Paul, that's for you, buddy. Good job. He was psyched. And at this point, I'm just like, okay. So now they're not necessarily up shallow. I know I'm getting bit up tight to cover, but maybe there's the bigger bass that I'm looking for. They're out a little bit further from the bank. So I start working this one area, and I'm coming up empty-handed all the way. So I thought to myself, there's one area that I've heard from tons of folks that they pick up bites on all the time. It's something you don't want to pass up. And I passed it up immediately, going to where I had known that there was some wood that I wanted to track down again, with the full intention of coming back in and fishing this spot on the way. And I did, and it produced. I threw a Ned, super light Ned, real shallow, and as soon as it hit the water, my line just started moving. And I was like, okay, I didn't really feel any sort of a bite or anything like that. I just saw the line moving, I just reeled down to it, jack 'em. Did not think it was a big fish until I got it in the net. It was 16. Not that that's a big fish, but hey, it's better. It's the biggest fish I caught this week. I will take it. Damn it. Now, the next journey here, or next part of all this is Paul and I did some sampling of the local cuisine. Should I drop that in here, Sean, or do you want to make that its own thing?
Let's make all of our food adventures our miniature hot topic this week.
Okay.
We don't have much of a hot topic.
Let's
talk food.
Yeah.
Fat guys talking food.
Fat guys talking food. That's the name of the game. So I had full intentions as well of going out and dropping the kayak in at Congamon Junior today. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? This weather is just so nice. There's going to be so many asshats and wreck boats up there. I'm just going to stay home and make a killer breakfast and then go for a drive with my dogs. And that's what I did. Today was a good day. So that sums up my week for the most part. I want to just jump in here and give some shout outs to some jig heads that are in here. We got Biggest Nickus says, hi, everybody. We got JM. Hey, folks. How you doing, Jay? Jerry.
We haven't heard from Biggest Nickus in a while.
It has been a while. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was getting a little concerned. Jerry chimes in and says, it was busy there this morning and the bites sucked. Beat them up Thursday night and a few Friday night. All right. Very, very nice. Very, very, very nice. And then we got Jay jumps in and says, I tried a neg-rigged Z-Man craw today for the first time, and it did well. Props for the tips on cycling through Ned-rig profiles. Nice. There we go. See? It's all coming full circle, Sean. It's all coming full circle. We're going to get real Ned-rig nerdy in our second segment coming up. Like, this is going to, we're jumping in. Here we go. There's Gravy Fishing joining us. He says, what did I do now?
Didn't he do?
He did. What didn't he do? No, we're talking about next Sunday and group DMs. So we're working out the details there, Gravy. Oh my goodness, man. Let's jump into your week because you're exhausted and there's a reason.
Yeah, this was one of those things one of those weeks where I said I'm going to overextend myself knowingly and kick myself square in the taint.
Yep.
And I did so. I did so hard. There was some taint kicking going on. I had a tournament this weekend on Saturday.
Yep.
So Wednesday I went out and pre-fished.
Mm-hmm.
Brought my youngest. We went up. It's a lake we're familiar with. It's actually a lake my wife and kids go to every now and again because it's got a nice little beach and it's pretty happy little out of the way. I mean, beautiful Berkshire's Lake.
Yeah.
Now we had our
nobody's massacring Canadian geese up there.
Correct. I have had some weird shit go on up there,
Yep.
but nobody ripping waterfowl apart with their dogs. We went up there just to check the place out. Now, this body of water was not my first choice, not my second choice. We had a little admin snafu over at MAKB this past weekend when the anglers went to choose their spots. And I was not able to get the spot that I wanted for the second year in a row. So I'm a little verklempt over that, but I said I'm going to make the best out of it. I'm not going to ruffle any feathers. Shit happened. We'll get by it, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up picking this small lake. Now, what I did for this tournament, when setting it up, I looked at the water body itself, looked at the acreage, and tried to give every body of water like anywhere from 10 to 15 acres per angler, and then set a limit of anglers per body of water based on that. Sunday night at 7, everyone gets to choose their body of water until spots are run out. First come, first serve.
Yeah.
Again, little admin error. I did not get the place I wanted. Took this one. Said, well, at least I know I'm going to catch fish there. This little lake has a reputation for pumping out a ton of stunted fish. A ton. I went up there and pre-fished, brought my son. We had a little blast. I was up there for about an hour. He was running around catching frogs, minnows, bluegills, everything with a net. Brought a net up there, having a blast. Now, we've talked about my pre-fishing methods on the show, right?
Oh, yeah.
So for anybody who hasn't listened, new listeners, when I pre-fish, I make sure not to burn out a body of water when I do it. To do that, I tie on a lure. If I catch 2 fish with it, they'll bite it. Because remember, 1 fish is a fish. 2 fish is a
pattern.
Thank you, Bobby. You're on top of shit tonight. Thank you.
I'm getting it together.
Where's your applause?
Hang on. I did that.
Yeah. I made this. So if you get your second fish pre-fishing on a lure, cut the lure off, use it during tournament day. Don't burn it out. Try something else. Try something you might not have tried normally, or cycle through a few lures, get your 2 fish on each one, cut it off. Well, during pre-fishing in 45 minutes, I caught 8 bass, had another 2 fall off. I said, I'll be all right Saturday. They're just they'll eat anything. Yep. And with the full moon, the little guys were turned on. It's just shit happens like that. I always do better for big fish on new moons, but I was sharing that lake with MAKB member Dan Regan. Dan's a first year member. He's having a blast with it as far as I can tell. And I called him up and I said, listen, I think we're going to catch a lot of little fish. Do you want to make this interesting? Because I don't know where we're going to finish on the scoreboard. He said, sure. I said, loser buys dinner. So we had that hanging over our heads. Saturday came, got up there, and normally I was having a laugh with Dan because normally at this body of water, it's so small and there's a road on the dam at one end of it that usually you see people with boats drive up, see there's 2 boats on the lake, even if it's kayaks, and they just keep going.
Yeah.
It's great. It's worth laughing about. When we got there, right before we threw in, a car pulled up, stared at us, stared at the lake, stared at us for about 15, 20 minutes, and decided to join us. And it was a gentleman in a kayak. So I'm like, okay, a third kayak, that's not going to be that bad. And I know with it being a small lake, I figured we were going to be on top of each other, and we were. But this was even better. This gentleman was fly fishing. Now, this lake does have trout. It does get stocked in the spring, sometimes in the fall with overflow. But midsummer fly fishing for trout in a small, deep lake. There's so many lakes around the Berkshires that have trout. Like, I don't know. I don't know why you would go to this one. It was a little mind-boggling. And then it got real crazy because he was there for a few hours, and I mentioned to Dan when he left what just happened there, because instead of fly fishing for trout in the middle of the lake where there is a deeper hole, he was like throwing flies into like heavy pads, and there's a beaver dam there. He's throwing flies around the beaver dam and a foot deep. I'm like, I know you can fly fish for bass and bluegills, whatever.
Oh yeah.
But he was throwing the fly into trees, and I'm like, what is going on? So I don't really know what happened there.
Yeah.
But it was entertaining. As far as the tournament went, on my end, my prophecy was true. I told Dan, I said, I think we're going to be lucky to get 70 inches out of a 5-fish bag. So that would mean, 5 14-inch fish. And I meant it.
Yeah.
And I was dead on. My prediction was dead on. I remember last week when we talked about this, I had said, Bobby, I'm going for 100. And you said 100 inches? Everyone that I said this to, it was a great joke all week. 100 inches, so 5 20-inch fish. I'm going to catch basically 5 to 6 pound fish.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm going for 100 numbers wise. I'm going to get 100 bass. I did not get 100 bass. I got 50. I got 50 fucking bass in 8 hours. So I was catching a bass just under every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was insane. With this event being up in the Berkshires, we didn't have any service. Nobody had any service.
Yeah.
So we uploaded at the restaurant afterwards, which we'll get into our hot topic with food. I ended up finishing, 6th, which is fine. I did break 70 inches, which I did not think was going to happen. I got 3 bass that were ready for this, 15 inches long. Now, I told everybody I fished all the lakes that we use for this tournament.
Yep.
And there's big fish in every one.
Sure.
There are. And I believe there's big fish in every pond. Where the term honey hole comes in is really, can you go to a pond and with your skill set get those bass to bite? Your honey hole, Bobby, might be different than my honey hole.
True.
Even though the fish are the same size, it's just I might not be able to catch them with what I do, but you find it easier, and that's your honey hole versus mine. Same thing can happen in the other way, So we had a blast with that. I ended up finishing, like I said, 6th. Gravy Fishing is jumping in here. He and Nelson had the same bet. Yes, they did, because I copied it from them. So, I'm well aware they had that bet. That's awesome. It was a good day. Like I said, I got 50 fish. There's only once or twice, maybe 3 times in my life I can ever remember getting that many largemouth or smallmouth in one day. One day was the day that Dude Bud and I walked a section of the Chicopee River that really had no access, and it was just an open field of smallmouth. And I think we stopped counting at 160 or something, like 170 in a day.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah, but it's so rare.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I hear a lot from people that don't, like, just so you guys all know, I mean, I nod and I smile and I try not to be rude, but when I don't know how many times I've heard people say, I caught 40 fish today. Dude, that doesn't happen. It's like, why don't you say you caught 8 10-pounders? I smile and I nod and I go, oh, that's good. But I know you're not keeping records, and the chances of you catching 40 fish are probably small.
Exactly.
So does that make me a piece of shit, Bobby?
No, it doesn't make you a piece of shit.
Okay. I mean, it would make me a piece of shit if I said something, right? Like on the air, embarrass them while the people are listening right now going, I did that to Sean like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, true.
Good. Don't fucking do it again. Now I'm cranky and I'm tired. And let me tell you why I'm tired. I came home from the tournament and I took all the bass stuff out of my boat. And I loaded up all my saltwater stuff because Nelson, in all of his infinite wisdom, said, dude, we got a tide coming in the morning in Rhode Island. Let's go. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. Meet me on a rest stop on the Mass Pike at 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh, fuck. This is kind of
sounds like the beginning of a certain kind of movie.
Dun 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 dun. And I did it. I was stupid. I got up at 2:30, got on the Mass Pike, fucking drove out there, got the rest stop, got a bunch of food because I didn't have any. I didn't have any coffee. The Dunkin' wasn't even open. Today was a coffeeless day. Very rare coffeeless day.
Saturday was a coffeeless day for me.
Yeah. Just accidental. Hate that shit. And I waited for Nelson, pulled in. I followed him to Rhode Island. He has a lot of history in Rhode Island. He and his wife lived there for a few years, and that's where he was doing all his charter stuff.
Yep.
And we got to the launch, and there were easily 20 to 25 other kayakers there. We never found out if there was a tournament there or not that day. And Nelson said, we're going to hit sea bass. We're going to hit black sea bass. We're going to hit fluke. Obviously, there's probably going to be sea robins and scup around. And he goes, we're going to try for stripers. There might be schoolies around. So, okay. So we get out there. Myself, Nelson, Derek from Three Bells decided to join us, and his buddy Devin.
Nice.
And there was a small, like, it wasn't really consistent, but there was a few like blow-ups. Like schoolie stripers were zipping around, hitting stuff on the top. Nobody got anything. And after about 15 minutes, I said, fuck it. And I went back to the old high-low rig that did so much damage in Connecticut. And I had a tiny black sea bass. And you know what that first 6 or 8 inch sea bass does in the morning when I catch it? It gets me running my mouth.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. I can
20
see
minutes
that. Yeah.
in, everyone hated my guts. After I got 4 fish, I could tell as they're pedaling away from me.
Like, fuck
oh,
you.
you don't like the company of the only guy catching fish? You all fucking suck.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what I do. It was fun. I'm not, I love salt fishing. I love fishing, period.
Yeah.
I'm learning the salt game. Obviously, Nelson and Derek have been definitely Nelson. Derek has helped out a bit too.
Yep.
They're always available to bounce stuff off of.
Yep.
So that makes it even more ludicrous, me running my mouth to them, but it was fun.
Oh, for
I wouldn't
sure.
do that. I wouldn't do that on freshwater, but saltwater, it was fun.
Yeah.
And it kept going, and my bite never died. So I just kept numbers, like, what am I catching? And I kept track of what I was doing. So I finished the day with, I don't know what it was, 34 sea robins, 27 black sea bass, and 2 fluke. What was that, 63 fish.
Jesus Christ.
So in 2 days, I caught 113 fish. It just didn't stop.
Hang on. That's awesome. I do have one thing there.
What?
So, what was that, 38 sea robins?
You know damn well it was 37. Oh, no, it was 34, I think.
34 sea robins. To me, right there, I see 68 pizzas.
Well, here's the thing. Sea robins I don't know how to fillet them. Nelson does.
Oh,
they're not, they're armored.
Yep.
And they got
arms.
all sorts of shit hanging. What?
They have arms.
Yeah, they do. They got the little claw
Fucking
things.
weird.
They're a mess. Like, I don't know how to prepare those. Nelson does. We did keep I think a couple large sea robin, and then I think as far as I know, I got the biggest black sea bass. It was 18 and a half, and that thing fought like a fucking pit bull.
Nice.
Yeah, they were coming up, and a lot of them were spitting up small crabs. They were on the bottom eating crabs.
They had crabs.
Yeah.
It is the ocean.
So we were catching them deep too, 40 to 50 feet.
No shit.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun doubling up on sea robins. We did have a blast, but I mean, I got home at like 4. What time did I get home? At 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I haven't even cleaned my boat off.
Which is amazing because on Saturday when you and I were talking, you would throw an invite out there for Paul and I to join you guys after the tournament. And I said, well, what time? And you're like, oh, I'm making the reservation for 3. And I was like, I'll be home at that point. I was like, there's just no way. And I was like, I talked to you and you're on the way home late then, and I was like, oh, no shit. And then I talked to you today, and you're on your way back from Connecticut, and you're like, yeah, we're going to be off the water at like 12. It's no big deal.
We were.
Oh, really?
We were off. Yeah, we were off the water at 11:30.
Ah, all right.
This doesn't fall into the FTG, but there were 2 things that consumed time when we got off the water.
Oh.
When we got to the ramp, there was a small SUV that was dead. Now this ramp has a little like U-turn to it, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So you come down the hill, the ramp's at the bottom, you go up the hill around a little bit, and then you back down, and then you can go straight out the other way, right?
Yeah.
At the curve of the U, right in front of the ramp, there was a small SUV that was dead. It just died. I don't know what, it was not starting. It was crazy, but it also had 2 jet skis attached to it on a trailer.
Oh, fuck off.
So no one could use the ramp. Nelson, I just dragged my boat up. Yeah, we had parked on the main road by this ramp, and we were getting our trucks to go down there. And I said, "Fuck this!" I found a spot up at the top of the parking lot, and because it's my saltwater setup, I don't have a lot. I take all my tackle out. It's not as heavy, so I just said, "Fuck it!" Dragged my boat on the wheels up the hill to my little parking spot that I found, and just loaded up there. And I had all the time in the world, no big deal. But Nelson goes running by me and says, "I'm going to help these people out." And he went down there and I think towed their jet skis to their house for them.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, they towed the car out. He said, "Leave the jet skis. I'll follow you," or whatever. I may be wrong on that. But yeah, he did the Good Samaritan shit. That ate up a little time. And then by the time he got back, grabbed his boat, loaded up. We went to grab food, which was really good. And I'll get into that in a couple minutes. And then we took off. And of course, this was weird. A lot of traffic. It was weird. A lot of traffic to get on the Mass Pike, but going the other way, I don't know if there was an accident. Mm-hmm. The traffic was backed up for miles.
Oh,
going east on the western side of the 84 interchange. I don't know what the hell was going on. 84 is always backed up. There were people going back to Boston and stuff.
Yep.
But this was backed up almost to Warren. It was crazy.
That's far. Wow.
Yeah, it was I'm talking 5-6 miles of traffic.
Shit. That's
all the way
the
through
worst.
Sturbridge, just crazy. So I don't know. I got home fine, and I came home, took some stuff out, and went to sleep because I was fucking tired. But
oh yeah,
that was the fishing portion of my week. But one thing I left out.
Yep.
And I'll let you cap this one off after I go through what I did. One thing I left out was I made sure to hit some new food spots this week.
Oh yeah.
So I want to give a couple shout outs and kind of pass along what, the little food trail we took here. After, you know what? This could have been an FTG thinking about it now. I had scheduled for us to eat at a chain eatery. You remember that, right?
Yep.
I'm not going to say where.
Yep. Oh, that's right. That's right.
To protect both the innocent and the guilty, and I'll tell you why in a second. And I got a message from Andrew Heath, who's an MAKB member.
Yep.
You'll hear Andrew's name in a minute, too. Andrew lives up the Shires, and he said, "Hey, there's this place here that I think could handle your food issues. Why don't you give them a call, and it's more centralized, and we don't have to rush around after the tournament, and everyone's got to, get down to this restaurant within an hour, the chain restaurant, and then turn their fish in because we had no signal." I said, "Great, let me call them." Called them, talked to the manager, asked if they could handle 20 or so people.
Yep. They definitely can.
Yeah, gave the Loaded Potato a call because he lives right down the street from the place. He came too. And they said, yeah, no big deal, right? I then called the chain back after I made this pseudo reservation. And it wasn't a reservation.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. But I mean, you can cancel the reservation. It's shittier if you don't show up.
Yeah. Well, I called, I'm using the word reservation. Neither of these places take reservation.
Yeah.
I give them a call ahead to let them know.
Yeah. I'm coming in. Yeah.
We're coming in hot with 20 people.
Yep.
Be ready. And I usually ask, can you handle that?
And we don't know no snakes.
We don't know no fucking snakes.
Fuck those snakes.
And we made the, shall we say, loose reservation, the prepare yourself. The savages are coming.
Exactly.
And I called the chain back and said, "Hi, I have, here's my name. I saw it's on this, your table wait list. Please scratch it off. We are not going to make it." Easy enough, right?
Yeah.
I did the
simple.
right thing. Fast forward to after the tournament. I am at the Knox Trail Inn in East Otis, Mass. If you're going through East Otis, if you're a fucking leaf peeper in the fall, stop in there. The food's great. The service is great. These people kick ass. Check that place out.
That I never told you this, but I had an exchange with that establishment previously.
Positive or negative?
Well, I mean, I've never been a customer, but they had asked me. They were interested in having a trivia night a long time ago, pre-shutdown. I want to say it was like 2019.
Huh? Just didn't work out.
Well, I think what it was that, truthfully, I do really well in the Valley. I have a good following here. I don't know how many of those people are going to drive out to Otis.
Yeah, it is a hike.
That's the only thing. Now, could I build the following over there? Yes, I definitely could. But, I come at a little bit of a higher price tag than some other trivia hosts for a reason. You know what I mean? And they weren't comfortable paying that. Which is fine. I understand. There's definitely no hard feelings, but yeah, when you mentioned it, I was like, I'm familiar. And I know, their menu is very they're much more for being in the Berkshires, and in those hill towns, they're very much on it with it's not as old timey as you might think.
No, they had a lot of
their menus really up to date.
Yeah, more contemporary stuff. I mean, I got a
Yep.
I kept it simple. Grilled chicken sandwich with pesto mayo. So just having pesto mayo means they moved at least into 2015.
Exactly. Yeah, they're like
yeah, so it was really
you
good.
You can put leaves in the Hellmann's?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
What's this green shit? Mint? It's jelly? We had a blast, but with our events, when we get to wherever we're eating, that's where I do the awards, like, hey, first through fifth, Lunker, giveaways, this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And during one of my spiels, I got a phone call. And it doesn't say spam risk, so I answer it, and they're like, hi, this is so-and-so. We're wondering where you are. Like, I canceled yesterday at 5 o'clock. I spoke with so-and-so, and they're like, oh.
So that's on them.
That is completely on them.
That's on them.
I did everything I needed to do. I was polite. I said, hey, thank you. I appreciate it, but we're not going to make it. I didn't tell them we had other plans.
Yeah, exactly. We're keeping it local.
Yeah, they don't need to know no snakes.
They got this nice operation there. They don't know no snakes.
Yeah. So that was that. We hung out for a while. Then again, I got on the road and made myself miserable. But I did check for, I think Saturday night I checked and said, where can we eat after we get off the water on Sunday?
Yeah.
And I found a little pizza place that could accommodate my dietary restrictions called the Bike Stop Cafe in Narragansett, Rhode Island.
The Bike Stop Cafe?
Yes. Let me tell you how jealous I was because of my dietary restrictions. All right. There's certain things that can be prepared for what I need to deal with, and there's certain things that can't.
Yeah.
Nelson and Derek both got something that could have, could in some circumstances.
It would have been probably okay, but maybe a little dicey like that.
Well, it definitely would have been dicey if I ate it today, but
okay.
It could have. There's some things. They had.
You sound like old gangsters that can't fucking say people's names. And
well,
shit.
I don't like talking about exact things on air. It's just not anybody's.
No, here,
I got dietary restrictions. It sucks.
Yeah.
Leave it away. Leave it at that. But they had fucking pulled pork nachos. Dude. I was so jealous. So jealous. Nelson was like stuffing his face. Like,
yep.
You and I take joy and display glee when we overeat. Nelson doesn't overeat often. Camping every now and again, if we've gone out and burned 5,000 calories, fucking getting out there on the water or something.
Like with Nelson, it's like if he's overeating, it's a holiday. Like if I'm overeating, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
If I'm doing it, it's Wednesday because I'm hungry from eating with you on Tuesday.
Exactly.
And you're doing the same. But this motherfucker slammed those pulled pork nachos. I was looking at them like, I wish I could. I wish I could. So they had to take care of my stuff, and I ate my food just so insanely jealous. So I think I'm really going to be making an effort to emulate their pulled pork nachos probably over the winter.
So
I think a football Sunday, I'm just going to be a fat guy sitting on the couch eating that shit.
I know a spot that does pulled pork nachos close.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh. Okay. Well, we got to talk.
And they're good. And I don't know necessarily all the details and everything, but the next time we go to Congamon Jr., it's not much further than Crazy Arepas.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Now, when I spoke with Andrew regarding the Knox Trail Inn, thank you, Andrew, by the way. Mm-hmm. Andrew also wanted to take care of you. Andrew wanted both of us to be sassafried, as they say.
Oh, sassafried?
And I had called you back after I spoke with him and said, hey, I just got a tip I have not
Yes.
eaten there, but Andrew had said that he knew from listening that you would be up the Shires and in your own little special section of it, and he recommended, what was it, Aussie's Steak and Eggs
Aussie's Steak and Egg.
Up in Hinsdale, right?
Yep, in Hinsdale. So I had, I was a little concerned when you had first called me and said, "Hey, I got a hot breakfast tip. You know, we're gonna go ahead and check this out." I was like, "Okay, we'll kind of see what's available." And so I had Friday night, because I wanted. I didn't want to disappoint, you know. I wanted to make sure that the big burned out hippie didn't forget to go. Well, like I was going to forget to eat, but I don't want to make the mistake of eating somewhere else, you know. So I appreciate that the heads up for this. So I went the night before, and I actually put a 10 a.m. reminder for that morning while I was on the water to remind me about Aussie's Steak and Eggs. It didn't matter because I had already Googled it the night before when I had finished trivia. I got home, I was eating dinner, hanging out with the dogs, and I Google it and I look it up. I'm like, oh, this sounds fantastic. And so I said to Paul, I said, after we are done here, let's go to Hinsdale. I'm not sure exactly how far it is. I think it was like 13 miles or something. No big deal. It's like, we'll go take a ride there, and I'm glad that we carpooled. Finding parking with that big-ass trailer was tough, but we managed. It was awesome. We went in, amazing breakfast. I think, personally, I ordered, I kind of at the last minute threw an audible, and I didn't order like a regular, what I would normally order. I went with kind of a lighter omelet, a Greek omelet with, it was a bunch of veggies and feta cheese, and it was great. I went with the home fries. Paul went with hash browns. And he said, and I think he puts the vote in that the hash browns take the dub. But very rarely do I rate a breakfast experience so highly because of the toast. I'm a rye toast guy. I love rye toast. This is one of the few places I've ever been where they had the old school rye with the caraway seeds in it. As a kid, I wasn't down with that. As an adult, oh my God, it just adds so much flavor. So good. So it was fantastic. There's only one issue that we had with Aussie's, is that we both wish that Paul and I wish that he remembered that he forgot his wheels at the launch where we were fishing for his kayak.
Fail.
Yeah, hang on. What was that? Saturday? Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. So, that sucked. Poor Paul. That sucked. He said he was going to try and head back up there because we had I think we had actually gotten back to my house. We were loading up loading up his kayak into his car, and he's like, "Oh man, you know what I just realized? I left the freaking wheels up there." And son of a bitch, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be looking and just, I'm going to be on Amazon tonight, ordering something." And I think he went up later that night, like much later, just to check, because it was about an hour and 15 minutes from where I am. And he was like, yeah, he got up there and it was just getting dark, and there were some people that were taking their kayaks out at the ramp, and he asked if they had seen them. And he's like, oh, it was so busy here this afternoon. There were so many people. Somebody probably just picked them up. So
hope he brought a gun and a crucifix.
Yeah, I was like, I when he told me he was going to go back, I was like, should I tell him? I'm like, no. Let him find out on his own. He'll be fine.
He'll know some snakes.
He's going to know snakes. Intimately might know some snakes. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was my food experience for my fishing outing. And it was, Aussie's delivers, man. And it's worth it. I got to check on the map, but it might be the type of spot where it's like, it's worth getting to. And then the directions back from Aussie's took me all the way through, like, just long-ass country roads. And this is going to bring us to our third segment. Paul and I got into a great conversation because I shared a YouTube video with him the night before about Metallica, and we put on basically Metallica's anthology and just listened to a bunch of stuff at random. We had a great conversation about Metallica, so that's what we're going to talk about in our third segment there. But Aussie Steak and Egg, you've made a believer.
I'm not even a believer myself. I've
Yeah.
never eaten there. I just got a hot tip, so
Yeah.
thank Andrew on that one.
It was wild too, because in the back there was like a band playing and stuff. Like outside,
Really?
there's this field. I don't know if it was a field or a park or something like that behind the building. And there was a band playing. There's a bunch of people out there. I mean, they were hopping for when I think we got there. And I think it was like 12:30 when we got there. But
Wow.
yeah, it was just bananas. Freaking nanas. Jerry says all the geese had wings today.
Good.
That's good.
That's good to hear.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear. Keep those geese populations sky high. They're not fuckers. What else were we going to talk about? Oh, I know what I was going to talk about. So I was busy this week doing other things. I have been toying around with. Did I ever tell you that I had a little stint or attempted to get into the stand-up scene locally?
No, I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah,
When?
so this would have been in like 2017, 2018. I was just like, I'm doing all this stuff and I've got so many events. I'm on the mic so often. I'm so comfortable just talking to people and, crowds, I'm like, I'm so accustomed to it. I'd love to try stand-up, but I hate everything I write. And I'm like, I was looking for, open mics that I could go to. And the issue is I'm working every evening, basically. I'm always, I have a gig myself. So it's tough to be able to get to these things. Well, back in, it must have been like, it's either summer of 2018. I had, I had toyed around with putting together a pop-up trivia service where I would set up like with my PA at an event, with my DJ equipment, I'd set up a little stand-up area where I could have a comic that had lights on them and everything, something like maybe even like the Disco Dungeon, something like this with like a spotlight and a little monitor and everything, set them up so it would be a pop-up sort of comedy club. And I'd been toying around with some of this stuff and that idea was kind of brewing. And then out of nowhere, there was this local host of a comedy open mic that had gone to Plan B is where it was, and had asked about moving their open mic in there. And they said, well, it's not the kind of thing that we do necessarily, but we have this trivia host who might be interested in working with you. So they put the dots together. Well, this allowed me to do one thing because it failed miserably. Like, have you ever been to an open mic for comedians, Sean?
No, I've been to some scheduled. Well, no, I haven't been to an open mic. I've been to some scheduled ones in Omaha. That's how long ago?
Yeah,
like 20 years ago.
So there's in stand up there's this own glossary of terms of like what different things are, showcases, but basically gigs like that you could umbrella them under. You've got these events, and what's happening there is the comic comes up and they're doing their material that they've road tested. Well, the open mic is almost like the dress rehearsal for that. You're putting it on stage. It might not necessarily be perfect or worked out, but you get an idea of where somebody is too at an open mic, like with the kind of stuff that they're doing. And it let me know who is really good and who wasn't really good, who I thought was, could make this happen. So I had, we come to 2020 and, this open mic before then had died shortly thereafter because what was basically happening was this wasn't bringing in any customers. Like the comics would come in, but they weren't necessarily eating or drinking. So the venue wasn't making any money. I gave them a 6-week window where I would do this show for free. And then I was going to charge them as like it was another show, like a second show. And they were okay with it. But I was like, what, guys? And they would ask me, they're like, nobody's eating or drinking. What can we do? I was like, get your servers to like push a little bit. Like, oh, can I get you something? Still, nobody doing their thing. Anyway, this thing eventually failed because they saw it wasn't a moneymaker. It wasn't going to line up, and it didn't. My following didn't love it at all because it was just so raw. So I kind of put that down. Pandemic comes, put this whole thing aside, and I'm just at this point hoping I can get out performing and doing trivia. Well, recently I was considering, what am I going to do this winter? I've got a pretty good wedding season booked up, and I want to kind of do some events that are a little bit bigger and engage my current, audience that plays regularly with something unique and kind of special, but have some fun and also maybe scratch that comedic itch. And so what I've done is I've put together kind of a platform or a format for a hybrid trivia and comedy sort of showcase. You've been to my trivia nights, so you know after I do a round, there's usually like 10, 15 minutes of music, and then I jump back in for another round. These would be slightly shorter rounds of trivia with a little bit of some banter from myself and then introducing a comic, but in between the rounds, we'd have a comedian.
Oh.
Yeah, like one would do like maybe a 10, 15-minute set, and then the second one would do maybe 25, 30 minutes, and then the final round happens. So I've got a few things that I'm working on here. Thankfully, from that open mic experience that I had at Plan B, 4 years ago, and I'm still in touch with some of these folks. I've gotten to, reach out and talk with some comedians to find out if they'd be interested in doing something like this. And it seems pretty good. I've actually got 2 different formats laid out that I'm going to try to put into work based on who I'm, and I'm trying to choose comedians that I know that I know that are good at what they do, and then have them book from their network, people that they know that they work well with, so that as a show it kind of has an overall sort of feel, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want their styles to contrast. I want them to work well with one another. So I think this could be a lot of fun. So I've been running around and I've been coming up with names for it and stuff like that, and putting some graphics together. I'm getting a new logo soon. This logo is going to be like not just a logo for my business, like in the trivia and everything like that, but also I want it to incorporate fishing a little bit, so I can have a Bobby Roast Beef logo that can be put on different stuff, but it's just one logo for everything that I'm doing. Podcasting, whatever it may be.
Perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been busy doing that, and that's my thing, So remember,
excellent. Can't wait to see how it fucking blooms.
It'll be interesting. Did I ever tell you how about the story how I lost $500 investing in a comedy scam? No. Oh, this is fucking good.
I don't know no snakes. Apparently you do.
So yeah. So there's one dude who used to book these shows for big name acts. Okay, you've seen the Deadpool movies, right?
I've seen the first one.
The first one. Do you remember the bartender? I can't remember his name.
Yes. Weasel.
Well, so he does stand up. And this guy had booked him for this show. And basically what he was doing was setting up these shows in a facility that was kind of just booking an event. And it was just churning out like, these pretty decent comedy shows, but not in a facility that was specifically designed for this. Almost like if you were to go and use like an American Legion or something like that to book something like a show, it was just like an event space, basically. So he's putting these shows together and everything, and I forget how it came up. If it was through the open mic, this might have even been after that, to tell you the truth. He had asked me about hosting trivia at one of his events. Basically, they insisted if he does a trivia comedy event there, that they have to have a buffet so they can add on to the price of the ticket. The problem is nobody wants, like plates and cups and stuff clinking in the background when they're trying to do, their set they're trying to perform. You hear me doing that.
Thank you for the audio demonstration of cups clinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when they go, somebody goes to a comedy show and their throat hurts and they get cough drops.
Exactly, something like that,
And sometimes they
drop their keys.
Take a look. It's in a book, Reading Rainbow. I don't know why I said that.
God. Oh, my good Lord. Oh. Well, anyway, what was I on? Or maybe they hear something like this. Who knows?
What? What was that? Yes.
What's this? Push some other numbers. There you go. Anyway, I was going off the rails here. No, so this guy says he wants to book me for some events, but these are like Saturday nights. So I throw him a rate, like this is what I want. He goes, no, I want to bring you on as a partner. He goes, so what I do is I do advertising and such, and this is what the advertising budget is. I'm going to need this much from you. He's like, all of these shows have been selling out. He's like, you can expect to be making at least this. And he's like, and if we don't meet this, I'm just going to give you what you gave me back. I said, all right, cool. Sounds great. Let's go for it. I was able to do it. That dude took off with my money. Fast forward to the pandemic. And I see some posts where he was into some people for like thousands of dollars. It was bad. It was really bad. I forget the dude's name. He's such a piece of shit. But yeah, that was, and that I think that had a lot to do with why I was like, yeah, I'm all set with this comedy shit for a little while. Let's just go ahead and keep doing what I'm doing or whatever. But now I'm kind of thinking it could be interesting and fun. I've been polling some people to get like, see what there is for interest. So far, it's pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there we are. Hey, there we the frick are.
Just remember, don't drop your keys. Or the soap. There's an
yes,
extra tip.
that's your little extra just the tip. Don't drop the soap. Otherwise, you'll be getting the tip. You know what I'm saying? All right, folks, that's enough of us. We're going to take a short break. When we get back from this, we have a bunch of quality fishing content for you guys. Just the tip. I mean, you name it, all that stuff. We got information for you. We got updates on our tournaments that are happening. All kinds of good stuff. Don't go too far, guys. We'll be back in just 60 seconds. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. We want to thank Old Glory Outdoors in East Brookfield, Massachusetts. Old Glory has an amazing selection of fishing tackle, including 6th Sense, Guggen Baits, X-Zone Lures, Shimano, Daiwa, Luz, 13 Fishing, Arc Rods, and many more. Use promo code Jigs and Bigs at oldgloryoutdoors.com and in-store to save yourself some money and support the show. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters, located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut. Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories from Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yak Attack, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and many more. Financing options are available to upgrade you and your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Torres. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day risk-free trial, lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% with the code JIGSandBIGS10 at checkout. Visit Torres.com to check out their selection. That's www.torege.com. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
That's exactly what we're going to do here. We've got all kinds of good education for you guys to kind of improve yourself, improve your situation, make better life choices, and improve your mental health. We were taking having a little conversation with our jig heads during that break, and Fishing in the Sticks jumps in and he says, just getting back from vacation, trying to move into a new house, just been busy all around, and then also comments that says, need to get out fishing for my mental health. And I'll tell you what, that's the primary reason why I fish. I like where it puts me. It challenges me, but at the same time, it allows me to unplug and unwind. So I like that. It's good. It's good.
Excellent.
It's like the yin and the yang. So let's talk tips.
You don't want to do any chanting?
I'm not much of a chanter so much.
No. Okay. All right.
It's all good.
Well, this is going to be a nice, simple one, and I shouldn't have to say this one. But you know what? I don't do this all the time, so I figured might as well cover it. We had a problem. We had a little issue this weekend with the tournament.
Yep.
One of our anglers took a bathroom break, went to get back into her kayak. Fell in the fucking water. She fell right in. Had to go home and get new clothes. Called it a day at that point.
Yeah.
I failed to do this. I didn't do it today. I didn't do it yesterday, and I should have today because I walked into a restaurant smelling like pure death after the 53 or 63 fish I caught.
Mm-hmm.
When you go out, bring weather appropriate clothes, not only to change into so you don't stink up a restaurant.
Yeah.
But if it's cold weather, you're going to want extra clothes. God forbid you go in the water and you have to get warm quickly. You're going to want those extra clothes.
Oh,
Staying
yeah.
in your wet clothes is going to do nothing. Seems stupid. Seems like a simple just a tip.
Mm-hmm.
Bring emergency clothes, one way or the other. What do you have to add on this, Bobby?
I mean,
this is pretty bare bones.
Yeah, it really is. It's just that simple. It's never a bad idea to have some additional clothes in your vehicle, or even if that's all you're doing, like just leave them in there. If you can get back to your vehicle, then you can change out of your whatever you got to. You're good to go. And stuff happens. You know what I'm saying? And it's a good idea to have something that you can change into should you need to. Whenever I'm working, I bring an extra set of clothes with me.
That's smart.
Generally, it's because I've got, like if I'm doing like a wedding or some type like a corporate event where it's like it's a suit and tie situation, and I've got to wear my suit. I'm not gonna tear down my gear and all that stuff and just wreck it from grabbing speakers off of stands and everything like that. So I go in with one set of clothes and then I go out with another. I've even considered getting a trailer for my equipment with a section and like a little doorway that's separate where I can have a little dressing room, little parties, groupies and stuff.
Powder your nose.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, why
Wow.
does he have an air conditioner on his trailer? He's a fat fucking DJ. So anyway, it doesn't matter. Bring a change of clothes. Have something on hand anyway. It's something as simple as a pair of shorts and a hoodie.
Exactly.
You know
and
what I mean?
I'm really good about it in cold weather because I wear my wetsuit and then I don't want to be. I've learned my lesson with driving with a wetsuit.
Yeah.
Chafeville. So I make sure I always have extra clothes. Hence me leaving my wetsuit pants at the launch. Was
Yep.
it last year?
Yeah. Comes
And,
with the territory,
Yeah. So bring extra clothes. Be smart. No matter what you're doing, summer, winter, anything in between.
Yep.
I like I said, this is a no-brainer, but I just got reminded of it from this weekend. One of our members took a dip and had to call it a
That
day
sucks.
early. So that's a pretty simple tip.
She's okay, and was there any kind of loss of gear or anything?
No, I think it was
Okay.
shallow water, and she went in, not the.
Oh, not the boat?
Yeah, she didn't tip the boat. She just went in.
Gotcha.
Yep. So there you go. Nice and simple. Don't forget extra clothes, folks.
Man, are you ready?
Lame.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah, I saw.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. You guys have been on good behavior apparently, because we haven't gotten a proper FTG in a bit. I should mention that multiple listeners have sent me a reel on Instagram. I don't know if you've seen this, Sean, where this boat just comes flying across the water and cuts right through the span of rope where I think it's like it's a kid or a couple of kids are on a tube. And
Yeah.
kids go flying. So, I wish I had more, but yeah, I've several of our followers on Instagram have sent this to me. So it's absolutely, it's fuck that guy.
We don't have anything local, and luckily, I'm actually
okay with that.
Okay with it.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of
okay
like I
with-
said, there's something we're saying, like you've been on your best behavior. That's always a good thing. I'm going to share this as the stand-in. So if you're following us on Instagram, go ahead and check it out. I'm going to put it on. I'm actually just going to repost it, so it's something that you'll be able to see, and it won't, drop off or anything. But it was shitty to see that on video, but thankfully it wasn't local.
I saw two of them. Tell me which one this is. So
Yep.
there's one of them where a pontoon boat comes from the left side of the screen and cuts right across to the right, is extremely close to a tube and cuts the line. There's also one where a jet ski comes from the right side of the screen, goes to the left, and I don't know if they cut the line or managed to flip the occupants of the tube.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I don't
the
know
one
if
that
the
I
line
saw.
got cut.
They flipped the kids. They took the tube right out from under them.
Yeah, so the other one's even worse because the other one is a full pontoon boat with the throttle open, and it literally looks like somebody dies, but they just cut the line.
No shit.
Like it's crazy. I've seen those two.
I think I have seen that one actually. I think somebody sent us that one before as well, but we probably had local shit to talk about. I'll bet you some canoe paddling sons of bitches took a space for a trailer that they weren't supposed to. I'll bet you that was the fuck that guy that week.
Guilty as charged Saturday for me.
Yep.
And Dan and Fly Guy.
I will tell you, I think there are some areas where I have seen there are no other places other than places that are painted long enough lines for trailers, but they don't really do such a great job of like putting like signage so that if you've got a car top, you can park here, or even like all others park in this location or something. Like sometimes you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, at York where we went, there's an area that says parking for trailers only, and there's like 6 spots.
Yep.
If that lake gets 6 trailered boats on it, you could walk across the lake.
Yeah, you could use
by
the steps. Yeah.
So
it's so small.
If the 3 of us are there, we were like, fuck it. And then the other parking lot there is just for the beach use.
Yeah.
So
did you guys have people there at the beach while you were fishing?
During pre-fishing, yes. And that was after the cold front too. They were there. It was the afternoon.
Yeah. What were
During
water
the
temps over
tournament,
there? I'm curious.
Water temps?
Yeah.
75.
Really?
Dropped almost. It dropped. It was 83 on Wednesday and dropped to 75 in 3 days.
Oh no, that I believe. I definitely believe that. I had like water temps like 72, 73. Although it's much more shallow.
I would figure it'd be warmer. Well, cool down quicker, warm quicker.
That's what I'm thinking.
By the end of the day, it was probably up 77.
It was coming up. It was coming up faster because it was at least 75 when we started coming back in. So
I even tossed around for the hot topic this week because of that cold front. I think this might be the beginning of our, end of summer, autumn.
Yes, that was
fade in, but
kind of what I was hoping. I really was. I was like, I don't know if they're going to start, thinking to feed up now. If this is where usually it's going to turn, and that will be the part of the state that happens first.
Yep, it gets below 70. I start seeing that, 70, even into the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
You start seeing it get into the 60s, and those fish will fire up. But
they're going to fire.
I mean,
up.
we went through this last year.
Yep.
I don't know. That's it. Well, thank you all for not having a fuck this guy. Getting us
I guess that's
kind
of nice, really. When you think about it, I think it is. I think it's actually very nice.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'll take that any week. 2 weeks in a row we don't have it. Sorry, we're not entertaining, folks. We're trying, but it's okay.
I don't know.
This is actually a good thing.
I feel like we kind of are still pretty entertaining. We got good information. I'll tell you what. Since we added the bait of the week, I really enjoy segment 2. I think there's a lot of really good stuff and a lot of potential in segment 2 right now for our show.
Yeah.
I think it's really good. I think I'm going to go ahead and get some drums going. Let's go ahead and do this.
Oh, boy, the Dothrakis. Well, good. Well, you're getting drums going. I'm going to bring up Fishing Chaos.
Perfect.
We'll start with our shit. Oh, God damn it.
God damn it.
You know when sometimes when you go away from an app, it came back up. Yay. All right. Let's talk jigs and bigs. So we got a freshwater tournament going on. It's rocking, it's rolling, multi-species. And what did I do? I went out on the salt because Nelson said
true.
so.
Nelson said so.
The fucking Sherpa says salt. We hit the salt. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to talk points first. So right now, we have a tie for 5th in jigs and bigs with 5 points each. And I should make mention, I'm doing all the judging on these tomorrow. So this is subject to change. This is nice and tentative. 5 points, 3-way tie for 5th place. Myself, Andrew Heath, and Tim O'Keefe, 5 points.
Nice.
We got a tie for, I guess this is No, that was 4th place. God damn it. I should have looked. Let me start over again. I'm so fucking tired, people. I'm so sorry. I count good. 5th place by himself, Dan Regan, 4 points. 4th place, the 3-way tie I just mentioned between myself, Andrew Heath, and Tim O'Keefe. 3rd place, 7 points each with a tie. We got Brian Tonello and Eric Graves, Gravy Fishing. 2nd place by himself, 8 points, Scott Rhodes. 1st place, you want to say it or me?
Oh, it's Jerry Multi-Species House.
Jerry is up there as usual. This tournament has, 14, 15 people in it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me look how many people. We got 15 people in it, all right? So there's going to be 3 spots paying out.
Yep.
I'm sitting there in 5th place, did I say? 4th place, right?
Yeah.
I'm in 4th place, just out of the money with, 7 points? I think 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I got 5 points, all right? I want to illustrate to people how this tournament works. It's just a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
I got 5 points. I got a point for putting in a largemouth, any size. I put in a 19. It was one I caught during the knockout. I said, fuck it, I'll throw him in there.
Yep.
Chances are he wasn't going to last, and I was right. He's not even the top largemouth. I put 1 fish in smallmouth. Another good one, but it's not winning the category, so there's 2 points. All I had to do was put 1 fish in the stringer of any 5, and I did. I put 5 in there. I try for that 100 inches. Again, we made mention last week that 100 inches is important to win, we feel. It's just a statistic that keeps popping up. So there's 3 points. I then got 2 points because I'm the only person who turned in a walleye. That walleye is a sitting duck. It's not a big one. It's only 16 inches long.
Yeah.
Somebody can easily catch a bigger walleye. So that's 5 points. Now, let's get rid of that walleye. Let's pretend that walleye doesn't exist. I got the 3 points. Largemouth, smallmouth, any 5, right?
Yep.
I catch a bluegill, that's 4 points. I catch a crappie, that's 5 points. I catch a perch, that's 6 points. I catch a pickerel, that's 7. Those aren't even winning. So that would put me in a tie for 3rd and in the money. That's how this works. It's just a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
Go out, catch fish, take a picture, the end. I think some people see oh my God, there's a 20-inch largemouth in there. I have no hope.
Exactly.
Why? You put a 14-incher in, it counts just as if you put in a 19
Put
at
in
that
a
point.
9. It doesn't matter. Like
exactly.
I'm going to give you guys a little bit of insight to the Bobby Roast beef strategy of this tournament specifically. I don't enter a fish unless it's not a bass now. I wait because as I'm catching bass, I'll throw them in my any 5. Just because there's something to get started with that there. So I'm on anything that I catch could go in the any 5. I wait until that last week, unless I catch something that's going to beat the current first place spot, and then it's worth dropping it in there in the hopes that it won't get beat out later. But like if somebody puts a 17, I'm not necessarily going to blow an 18 there because I know somebody's going to catch another a 19 or something of size. Or I'm expecting that's most likely what's going to happen. So then I might throw that in my any 5. But I keep my bass out of it until, and you won't even see me in the tournament until I catch a pickerel or a perch or a panfish of any kind, something, catch a rock bass, and then you'll see me in there. So that's like that. I think is if you're looking for a way to do this and make it interesting, just look for that bycatch. And then once you do, enter that, and then you're like, okay, now I'm in the race, because any bass, if that's what you're targeting while you're fishing, any bass is going to be worth a point. Unless it's the lunker, then it's only worth 2.
Yeah.
Exactly. I am curious regarding this too, and while we're on the subject, I'll throw this out here. Maybe we'll even do a little bit of a poll somehow. Would you guys like to do like a weekend long or just a single day national bass only tournament? Maybe we try it.
Go ahead.
And then we could, we'll do it like kind of like a catch 'em all style.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, it could be a lot of fun.
Why don't we set up a poll on Instagram and see where it goes? I'll set it up. You people tell me what to do. This is for the people.
This is for the fucking people.
Yep.
This is for the fucking people.
It is. Well, that's Jigs and Bigs. We're halfway through. Also, I would like to note that the first to 100, I believe, was Scott Rhodes. Let me double check on that.
First to a hundo?
First to a hundo was Scott Rhodes. Nobody's hit 200 yet. Come on, you motherfucking app. All right, so Fishing Chaos is disagreeing with me right now. Here we go. Let's see if I got it. I do. Yep, so Scott Rhodes was the first to 100, and then right now there are 3 people at 170 or over, but not to 180. So Brian Tonello, Jerry Howes, and Scott Rhodes. And again, we do the increments of 100 for extra prizes. They're rolling. Is that total length? Yeah, so there you go. Chronic Trips, the final Chronic Trips for the year, the September tournament. Registration opens next week. I don't know on what date. I'm a piece of shit because I'm tired and I was unprepared for this. But keep an eye on that. We'll let you know next week. It'll be open. I'm sure it'll be open by next week. And finally, one last thing I want to cover. We had an MAKB tournament this past weekend.
Indeed.
We had the 57 run, baby, Route 57. So way up to Shires in Massachusetts, we have a Route 57, nice winding mountain road. It's kind of the main vein running through the southern half of the Berkshires in Mass. And there's a bunch of ponds on there. I didn't say the blue vein. I said the main vein. The big blue vein.
I got you.
Right by the hair. I mean, trees. Yeah. And there's 7 lakes that we hit. You pick your lake, you fish the lake, and we run from there. I want to make note of where I finished with my we'll call it admin error that placed me at a lake that I really wasn't angling for, pun intended.
Pun intended. Hang on.
I thought I was going to have problems breaking 70 inches. I got to 74 and a quarter. Good for me. Yeah. Right. So that was good enough for 6th place.
Yeah.
Now let's start with 5th and up. Gravy Fishing. 74 and a half, beat me by a quarter inch. Good for him.
Nice.
Congrats to Gravy Fishing. Yeah, also, he won the dinner bet between him and Nelson.
That's awesome. That's even better.
Yes. 75 and 3/4, Dan Johnson was 4th place. 3rd place, Nick Ringard, 77-75. So he and Dan were fishing on the same lake together, I believe. Also on the same lake. 2nd place, Scott Rhodes, 85 and a quarter. Was fishing on the same lake as Andrew Heath with 91, 1st place. Congratulations on your first win, Andrew.
Dude.
And also thank you for the 2 excellent food recommendations. We'll be going back for the MAKB to the Knox Trail Inn. That was phenomenal. We did not have a pickerel or pike lunker in there because one of the lakes doesn't have pickerel in it.
Yeah, kind of makes it
which
tough
is amazing.
Yeah.
So as far as lunker bass, get this. Congrats to Bob Williams.
Nice.
Mountain bass, 21 and 3/4.
That's a tank, buddy.
Bob caught himself a piggy.
Yeah.
So that was the 6th of 7 tournaments for MAKB.
Yep.
For the Western Division. The Eastern Division has 2 or 3 more. I think 2 more. And after that, October is the championship for us. We're wrapping the season up. 2022 is almost in the books, folks. I've said it before, Nelson and I are just kind of humbled and a little bit staggered that we've managed to put this together and people not only keep coming back, but are bringing their friends. And we went from
it's a good thing.
We went from a very tentative, averaging, under 10 people last year to almost every event selling out.
That's huge.
Like,
hang on.
It's been awesome. So we've almost tripled our rate of attendance from 1 year. And I can't thank everybody who shows up enough and keeps showing up. We must be doing something right.
Yeah.
And looking forward to 23 once this wraps up. But we got a little bit left to 22. Let's get out there and kick some ass, people.
Sweet. It's gonna be a good time. And it's funny you say that, like, Paul and I were just talking this week, setting this up, and he was like, "Oh, we haven't gotten out much this year," and I was like, "The year ain't over." You know,
Yeah.
It's really not. Like I'm really excited this year that I'm going to be able to extend my season in the boat for just a little bit longer. You know, I'll take it, even if it gets me out 2 weeks extra. You know, beyond where I normally would, I'll take it. Yeah, freaking good stuff, man. I think it's time to get nerdy if you're down.
Yeah, let's talk. We got something to talk about.
Jigs and Bigs. Bait of the week.
I love that. Our use of that sound clip is way better than anything else I've heard. Way better. I love it. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe I'm biased. No, we're going to talk about something that, and I'm not surprised. It was only a matter of time before this came up. We're going to talk about a bait that that kind of gets a bad rap. Some may even say it's a little bit controversial. With it's like some people just don't love it. You know, the people who do love it fucking love the hell out of it, and I think it's one of those baits that is very misunderstood. I think that's the best way for it. What we're talking about is the mighty Ned rig.
Yeah. And to let everyone know where we're going to go with this, you and I talked about this when I was driving home today, and we could talk about an infinite number of baits to attach to this Ned rig, but I think we wanted to focus on the two really primary types of Ned heads there are out there. And honestly, the second one is the one where I've really seen the most controversy on, because some people don't even call it a Ned head. Now, with, you know, how do I even say this? I haven't even been calling it a Ned recently. I've been calling it a Midwestern finesse jig, because that's really the inventor, what he calls it.
I mean, it's much older than the term Ned.
Yeah, this happens. Everyone says Ned now. Excellent marketing, Z-Man. Congratulations. Who worked in conjunction with the originator. Why don't you start, Bobby? Let's see what. Fire us up here.
Well, I would say this. Like, I understand there's a lot of people who are they have an adverse reaction to the idea of even needing to fish finesse at all. You know, and lots of people, they as far as they're willing to go with it, they're going to throw, like, you know, a wacky rig stick bait or something along those lines, and that's as finessey as they want to get with it. And I think that we're living in a time where there's so many options for Ned rigs. I might actually go now. The history of the Ned rig, you can look that up. There's a million people that talk about it, how the Midwestern finesse jig, where it all kind of started, the creators of it, how it was supposed to be fished, all this stuff. You can go ahead and look into that. I'm going to tell you my history with the Ned rig. My history with the Ned rig, it starts with Sean the Fisherman. The Ned I had seen, you know, in magazines where it was getting talked about on a lot of Facebook groups, and it wasn't something that really had kind of like caught on necessarily. And in fact, I didn't even really understand it 100% when I had looked into it. So Sean had a conversation with me. We had fished, I think actually this is the only time I've ever fished your body of water. And I think this is the time that you got some of the greatest comedy you've ever seen, which was me trying to launch a kayak from a dock. That is hilarious as well. But that's neither here nor there. We were fishing Ned rigs all around this one area, and I had just kind of started to get into power fishing and moving baits and things like that and experimenting with different stuff, and really still didn't understand the difference between finesse fishing or power fishing, or I was using the wrong setups for all sorts of different things. And I had always thought that a Ned was, or from what I had seen from it, was just a simple ball jig, like a slightly larger crappie jig with a piece of rubber on there about 3 inches, and that was it. And sure, you could use that as a Ned if you wanted to. it may work out great, but it was years later when I kind of started looking into like the Z-Man plastics and the Finesse TRD and stuff like that, and seeing that the shroom style head with the flat end and where your bait would stand up. And I think it's in that marketing that a lot of misunderstanding happens, because what I've noticed and what Sean has noticed and has proven is that the majority of your bites aren't from slowly dragging a Ned on the bottom. They're from the fall. Most of the time they really are. You don't have to fish a Ned so painfully slow unless that's the way the fish want it. Like that's not. So it is a very versatile bait. In fact, I think with the advent of the EWG style Ned, I know for myself, but I'm willing to bet that the majority of anglers that had adverse reactions to fishing a Ned, because it was open hooked for the most part, once the EWG style had come around, that kind of allowed for a lot more confidence as far as throwing it up against some heavier cover. Throwing it up against weed lines or much closer, and you were a little bit more risky, willing to be risky with it, throwing it into some thicker stuff. And I know once that was the case for me, and getting to the EWG Ned, I fell in love with the TCR rig, the Tiny Children's rig, and that's basically where you rig like a small Texas rig with really small weights, kind of in reverse.
Yeah.
And I even would, using that would allow me to get a bite when it was really, really tough. Either like really, 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 really cold, or just after a front, or maybe, when they were just turned off. It was bright skies and, no clouds overhead and just dead calm wind. Throwing that bait seems to really get bit. And with the advent of all the plastics that are available out there, now the sky's the limit. The Ned, that jig has become my new finesse swim bait jig. I throw a paddle tail on that and I can swim it and do so much, and it gets hammered.
Yeah, I'm glad you said the word jig.
Yeah.
Because when I first came across the Ned rig, as it was, let me think about this, 5-6 years ago.
Yep.
Maybe. I said, what is this? And then I thought about it. I'm like, well, I'm always looking for some way to get fish to bite in the cold. I do fish a lot of cold weather, right? And I was using bigger jigs. I was getting fish, but not as many. And sometimes I needed a bite. So I started kind of investigating the first round of Ned rig heads that came out, and that was the Z-Man ones.
Yep.
And of course, the lead laws and mass played against that.
Yep.
But there was nothing else. So that was years ago. I did it. What could I do? And I think the first Ned bait I started out with was, and I still have a few too, are the Z-Man hula sticks. They're big. They're not the TRD ticklers. They're bigger.
Yeah.
They're closer to 4 inches, I believe. So I started with those, and the first day I threw them in my pond in the backyard, I had like a I don't know, it was 25 fish I think I caught, and my son caught another 25. So we had 50 together. That was really awesome.
That's really great.
And then the diminishing returns the next day, or the next time it didn't work as well, blah blah blah.
Yep.
That really started something for me, because most of those fish came on the drop.
Yep.
And I realized this is just a small jig. When I got that mentality, I don't worry about the term Ned rig. I worry about it's a finesse jig. Now, I don't use finesse jigs in the way that, like I know a lot of people consider, like where it's a smaller, like a smallmouth finesse jig where the skirt is really hemmed off up top by the jig head.
It's got that
I don't use those at all.
Cut. Yeah.
Yeah, I just use, a Midwest finesse jig, or I use my big jig head. Now, where I've found common ground is I have found Midwest finesse jigs that are a 1/4 ounce. Mm-hmm. And I can not have a skirt on them and throw just the plastic, whatever I'm using for a trailer, on my jig. Mm-hmm. And the amount of success I've had with that has been staggering.
Yeah.
So I use it constantly now. I throw it in wood. I throw them everywhere. I throw them in heavy cover with weeds.
It's been my number one dock bait.
Yeah, I throw them everywhere.
It's great.
So I can't tell you. I mean, I went through it, I think, this off season.
Yep.
Not hundreds, but thousands, plural, of fish that I have caught.
Yeah.
Using these rigs. It's just been staggering over the years. When it comes to the extra wide gap, so now, of course, we realize that, look, we're in Massachusetts. We got to use non-lead stuff. And that does apply to that because that's quote unquote stuff you're hopping along the bottom. We got a little bit of clarification on the lead law recently. And when the biggest problem with, I think, the two Ned rigs now, or the two Ned heads, the initial run of Ned heads, and even honestly, the current ones, the Z-Man ones rust a lot.
Yeah.
Like that really pisses me off that you're spending this much money on those heads and they're lead and they just rust. So I didn't like them and I was looking for an alternative. And then I said, well, I like fishing stuff weedless. And I found the Harmony ones.
Oh yeah.
That we've talked about, but unfortunately the Harmony ones being tungsten and expensive, they split. And it's not one or two. I feel very confident saying I've had 20 or 30 of these things split.
Yeah.
So there's some sort of design thing they've got going on. Harmony fixer shit. Recently, for people that are interested in living lead-free states, Bass Pro Shops, their XPS brand, they make them, but it's like $7 or $8 for 3 heads. So it is expensive. You got to tie it on to some good line.
Exactly.
But those have been my go-to up until recently. And I'm going to blow something up here. There's been a little molding going on in the quote-unquote Jigs and Big family.
Yep.
Through myself and another member. I'm not going to drop that person's name. And the ones that we have been coming up with have not been rusting. And the hooks on them are deadly. It's not like little flimsy Ned hooks that you get from name the brand that a fish can turn. I've had even the smaller XPS ones turn.
Yeah.
We're using heavy duty hooks on these things and it's amazing. So there might be more to come on that. But what I have used them with, and the numbers just in the past couple weeks.
Oh yeah.
It's been fucking staggering. And I actually only painted 3 of them to try. I haven't lost any of the 3, and I'm well over 100 fish with these 3 jig heads. It's been nuts. So I saw that, and this was stupid. I say this is an annoying thing about the fishing community. Guys, we argue about some stupid shit. Somebody said, well, an extra wide gap Ned head isn't a Ned head. That's not a Ned technique.
Yeah, some people are.
Who gives a fuck?
Like yeah,
call it the super dildo technique. I'll fucking own it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm a dildoer, Bobby. You a dildoer?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go that far necessarily, but I occasionally like to. I've been known to strap a dildo to somebody's trailer and send them down to, you know what I'm saying? Oh.
Exactly. But this technique is just, I think, has defined my recent years of fishing.
Yep.
For tournaments and for not. And I can't advocate it enough, especially for beginners.
Yeah.
If you want to, it kind of amazes me sometimes where we'll hear from people that say, I can't throw a jig. I don't know how to throw a jig. And then they throw a Ned rig. It's the same thing. You just get heavier gear. It's literally it.
It really is.
Thing. Go from a spinning rod to a bait caster, and you've just gone from Ned to jig. It is the same thing. I use the same trailers. I use the same fucking trailers.
Yeah.
My knockout round last week, great example. One of the 1/4 ounce jigs that myself and Mystery Man molded and painted, I used one of them. I caught 32 largemouth in weeds, 1/4 ounce, same jig trailer I use in that place in the spring.
Yep.
But just it doesn't have the bulk of the skirt.
Yeah.
And it's not a mushroom head. It's one of the ones that looks like a cut toilet paper roll. So it's a little, what do you call them? Like a peg head or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
So they work. They work well. And with it being weedless, I was able to throw that into some shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't punch because I have these.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then
one of the things that I do too, with the various sizes, I keep close enough proximity to, sometimes you can't get the exact numbers, but I keep 1/16, I keep 1/8, and I keep 1/4.
Yep.
And with the quarter, it doesn't mean that I have to throw it into heavy shit. If I'm fishing 20 plus feet of water and
Use
smallmouth,
that extra weight is great to get that down
gets
there
it
quickly.
down to the bottom.
Yeah.
It triggers that
Yeah.
that response from the smallmouth, that aggressive response. So
And it's funny too, because like you mentioned finesse jigs, and I throw finesse jigs regularly, but when I throw a finesse jig, when I just can't get them to bite on the Ned and they need something a little bit bigger. Like that's the only difference between those two presentations. When you just like that skirt, it's just like just that skirt can give it a little bit more bulk, and that's pretty much it. Sometimes it's the movement if it's like dirty water or something, but there's so much you can do with a Ned. When I go and I go fishing like with my wife, or I go with my kids or something, I mean it's the first bait I'm gonna tie on for them is gonna be an EWG Ned, or what you say, a dildo or something.
Super dildo technique.
Super dildo technique. I'm going to tie that on,
You're a dildoer.
I am, Apparently now I'm a dildoer.
We all are. It
But
happens.
Fishing in the Six jumps in here. He says, Beast Coast makes a small tungsten jig, small with the weight and hook. It's interesting. There are a lot of companies that are starting to make EWG stuff from, as far as, Ned style jigs, EWG jigs like that. And you're seeing a lot more variation in hook size and available weights. So it's good to experiment with when it comes to these jigs. Maybe get some that have a larger hook at light weights. This way you could put a more sizable plastic on there, and that hook point's going to be further back, where you may want it. It might have just the right bite. But it's amazing. Now I don't for a second worry about throwing a Ned. I'll just throw, I'll rig it up so that it's weedless. If I didn't have the EWG, I'd rig up a TCR. And, same kind of idea. Flipping into the only fish I caught Saturday, that 16, was on a Ned with a curly tail grub.
The TCR you bring up is a little bit different, I think,
is.
because it's designed for something completely different. I mean, that was designed in the upper Midwest to throw into log jams and rivers.
Yep.
And be able to go straight down and straight up. And if you're not familiar with the TCR, basically you're hooking. It's closer to a what's the technique where you peg a nail weight into something?
A Nico? Yeah.
Yeah, it's closer to a Nico than it is to a Ned rig.
Yep.
Whereas a Ned rig is almost it's a small jig.
Yes.
And, that TCR, you're jamming a nail weight into the back end of a worm and then hooking the like a 1/0 extra wide gap.
Yep.
With no other weights on it, and it's just dropping straight down. That being said, that's another deep water technique that's great for smallmouth.
Oh yeah.
But I'll throw a Ned first. It's easier.
I remember before I was able to find any EWG lead-free Neds, I would throw a 1/0, and it was that's why I say, like, when I throw the TCR, when I would throw it was in reverse of the way it's supposed to be. I would just use a real small, like an 1/8 ounce, like worm weight, and I'd throw a 1/0 EWG on like a TRD. And what I would do is, instead of leaving the weight, I'd use a bobber stop just to lock it down in place. So it would effectively have that same action as a Ned. So that's when I say the TCR rig, it is ass backwards. It's
what you just did.
Yep.
Is actually you made a finesse Texas rig.
Basically, yeah, that's all it was. Yeah.
So that TCR is so weird by itself, but again, like, the Texas rig is closer to a jig, especially if you have that pegged down.
If you peg the weight
TCR,
down, yeah.
That TCR is a different beast. I mean, nothing we're talking about can do what a TCR can in like wood piles, So it's a little different. But yeah, I mean, I can't stress what these Midwestern finesse techniques have done to me as an angler in the Northeast. Even to the point where when the bite started slowing, and this is before I got real heavy into Ned rigging, before the bite started slowing in Oklahoma, when I would fish my buddy's place, I would throw them there, and that picked the bite back up.
Yeah.
That was the last week I think I fished there, and that helped me get the fish biting again. So,
well, I'll bet you I mean, I would assume anyway that down south they're probably not throwing small baits very often, so they might just not see that small of a presentation that routinely.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You
it's
know?
just like anything else, downsize. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
Yeah. It definitely they're not seeing it.
Yeah, I can't speak for the South on how they do with finesse fishing, but
yeah.
I mean, you know, I always have a laugh about drop shotting, and I know it's a technique that works and it works well. But in my experience, I just haven't hit it right. It hasn't showed me the wonder of the drop shot, whereas the Ned rig has just been, like I said, plural, thousands of fish.
Yeah.
It's insane how well that thing works. I mean, everything from Connecticut state pin size carp to, you know, largemouth bass one time that I pulled over a dam with 8-pound tests. I mean, it works everywhere under every possible condition, especially if you use the extra wide gap heads.
Remember the tank of a yellow perch that I pulled out of that river in Maryland?
Yes.
Ned rig,
yeah.
That other largemouth that I caught on that same trip, Ned rig. You know, with a plastic that I think, you know, not a lot of people choose, and that's the beauty of it. Like there's so much available right now for plastics that will fit this hardware. You know, I just had
you can do anything.
I just had to redo my entire terminal tackle box. I was using one of those cheap 3600 size boxes, and it got a crack in the back, and I was like, oh, why do I have all these nail weights in my bag? What's going on? So I figured that. I was just like, you know, I'm just going to switch it to a 37 waterproof, and then I'm going to throw this sucker right in this big box. Everything will be fine. But what's nice is I went and I organized everything. And I look at it and I'm just like, there's an entire bottom row made up on my terminal tackle box that is all strategic mute. I like that. There's the entire bottom row all the way across is various styles of Neds, most of which are EWG. I have some other ones in there because there are some times where I just need that exposed hook, you know?
Yep.
Where it works. Got a couple of comments in here. Jerry House says, that's not good. I just bought some from Harmony. Bass Pros were out of stock in the weight that I like. Sean's had he throws these all the time. I still have some Harmony stuff. I've only had one of mine crack. And you know, but this shouldn't happen ever. Like that's the point. Like it shouldn't happen ever.
And I've had it repeatedly. Loaded potato had it happen repeatedly. Like JM, I know you like them too. I like them.
Yeah, I like
them.
the price too. I mean, I think they're affordable, you know, for what they are.
But their durability is fucking shit. Like tungsten should not split on the head.
Yeah.
Like right on the hook. Like I can't tell you how many times
What was the weight of the
up
one that broke on you?
What?
Well, how light was the one that broke on you? Because I broke a 16th.
All their sizes.
Yeah, I broke a 16th, and I would assume that the larger the head, the more rugged it should be, or able to take it. That's interesting.
Yeah, the 16th, the 8th, and the quarter all broke on me. I'm very upset with their shit because the way it broke too, like it's not like it chipped off. It's split in half on the hook numerous times. Just went like this, boop.
Yep.
Just split.
Jay's asking for the best alternative. I think that XPS so far I've been really happy with.
I haven't had an XPS break yet.
Yep. That I could give a recommendation to. I would say look into what is it? The Beast Coast one that Fishing in the Sticks mentioned. Beast Coast does a small tungsten. And then just, you know, kind of play around and look and see what you have. It's tough because it's like you want to go lead free. I'm not even sure.
I don't even know who makes a lead extra wide gap one.
Yeah. Oh, well, I know a bunch of places that make lead extra wide gaps. I know some it's hard to find them sometimes. H2O Express terminal box. Oh, that's at Academy. That's what he's talking about. Yeah, he says
I love Academy shit, by the way, Fishing the Sticks, but they're not good with their lead stuff. Then I know we're talking terminal boxes, but we're getting conversations get diluted.
Oh, it's all
But yeah, I mean, bottom line, these things are fucking great. If your state allows lead and you can use lead. That's fine. If your state doesn't allow lead, really the Bass Pro XPS are the best that I've found. and that's for years of using them and really paying attention to that. Beware with the harmony. Sorry, Jerry.
Yeah, I mean,
wish we would have talked.
You might be all right. You might be all right. Who knows? You know, maybe they got your letters that were taped to flaming bags of shit that you've sent to them, and they're gonna like get their act together. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Hey, it happens.
Yep. So get out there, give those a try. If you really hate those heads, I don't know what to tell you. You're missing out. Probably as much as I'm missing out on drop shotting, but drop shotting is not for everywhere. This technique is for
everywhere. It really is. It really is.
1 foot deep to 80 feet deep.
Yep.
You know, all sorts of structure, all sorts of cover.
Mm-hmm.
I throw it everywhere.
It really is. It's fantastic. All right, so I think that that concludes this segment. This was really good for not having an FTG. I think we rounded out and gave this is chock full of good fishing stuff. Chock full of good fishing stuff. We're going to take a short break, guys, and when we get back, we're talking one of the most iconic bands in rock and roll, in heavy metal for sure, and a little video that I had watched and shared with a friend that kind of opened up Pandora's box to an amazing discussion. And I want to get Sean to weigh in on it. So we're going to take a short break, guys. We will be back in a bit. Don't go too far. Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jigheads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just two lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. You know, this is the kind of reason why I love the Jighead so much, because, well, you know, obviously you've heard him talk with us all through the show. We've been talking about all sorts of stuff. There's banter going on in between. Sometimes they're chiming in and throwing little tidbits in here and there. But I was actually able to share with everybody who's in the live stream right now a link with a video that kind of inspired this next conversation that we're going to have right here. So we'll go ahead and talk about it, guys. We are, we're children of the 90s. You know, Sean and I were both born in the greatest year of all time, the year that Star Wars was released. I mean, we grew up in an amazing, amazing era, I feel like. As late-end Gen Xers, man, life is pretty good. Now, obviously, we were both a little bit young for the prime of Metallica. We kind of caught them toward the back end of the early catalog, I think is safe to say. But I recently saw a video that had, it had the title. Hold on, let me look it up so I don't mess this up. How Metallica became the most hated band in metal. Now, you hear things all about, like, you know, obviously they've done some things throughout their tenure to piss folks off and make waves, but so it kind of had my attention. And my buddy Paul, that I talk about often, that I fish with, is probably one of the biggest Metallica fans I've ever known. And he kind of has this ongoing online sort of, I don't want to say a feud, but a thing with another local guy who has a few years on us and has he's commonly known around the area as Metal Steve. So he has a very strong opinion about Metallica and basically writes off everything that they've done after And Justice for All. That was the end of their heyday. Everything else is terrible. And Paul is an appreciator of the entire catalog, for better or for worse. And that means that Paul even appreciates Saint Anger for something. Now, I had to share this video with Paul, and we had this great conversation. And, in this video, they talk about, obviously, how they were on this up ramp, growing in popularity with these amazing albums, eventually releasing Master of Puppets, which is like it's the record, I mean, for a lot of folks, it is the favorite. And then, tragedy struck, and with the loss of Cliff Burton going into Injustice, it was kind of a whole sort of different animal. I actually just watched a video with Jason Newsted about why he left Metallica and about that era when he was joining the group, and the shit that was going on, like the tour they were on while they recorded that is insane. The Monsters of Rock tour. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, the Van Halen Kingdom Come one.
Yes. Wild. So, in this video, he goes through a lot of stuff and basically goes through the history, and then boom, the Black Album hits. And he makes a really, really great point that the Black Album was a departure from their sound, and it seemed to be as if it catered to more of a mainstream audience. And he brings up a good point in this video about, but is that enough to take away the credit for what it did to the overall genre as far as growing it and making it more accessible and getting people to, it's like a slippery slope. Like if it weren't for Metallica and those albums, I wouldn't know anything about, Napalm Death or, so many other metal bands that my interest would have never gone there, So that was a sort of one point. The next point was obviously, load and reload during the break. We were talking about what song to go out, and immediately Sean was like, nothing off a load reload. Again, changing their sound and seemingly pissing off everybody. And this is also the whole Napster thing, which...
Ooh, that was the first thing I was going to jump on.
Yeah, I mean, the Napster thing too. But then what's interesting is that there are people who are saying like, 20 years later, maybe he was right, because the music business is rough, if you're an artist. And it's worse now, as far as being able to make a living at it. So I get it, Was he maybe the right guy? The spokesperson of it? I don't know. He's not that likable. That gets mentioned in this video as well. And then, again, changing their sound, going into Saint Anger, and then, the albums that followed, obviously. And then you see, there's so much hatred for Lars Alone. Like, he's become a living meme, and there's videos of live shows where it's just horrific. And it's like Metallica's the band that people just love to hate. Metal fans love to hate this band, but they've done so much, And Paul made a really good point. He goes, you know what, man? He goes, they didn't just change their sound at that point. He's like, there were fans that were pissed off when they changed their sound and wrote a ballad, for Whom the Bell Tolls came out. And that was
Fade to Black.
Fade to Black. When Fade to Black came out, there was a big uprising, and that was much earlier in the catalog.
And all the years I've listened to Metallica, did you ever hear what that song's actually about?
What, Fade to Black?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
About James Hetfield's amp that he lost. It was stolen in a Boston show. Never got it back. It was his favorite.
I didn't hear
amp.
the part about the Boston show. Really?
It was a Boston show in 83 or 82.
Really?
They were in Boston. They got their shit stolen, and he wrote that song because of an amp. Now, it has nothing to do with
suicide?
Well, it does. It's how he felt, but it was over an amp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty neat.
Dramatic. Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
I don't know. You want my 2 cents on this without having watched the video? I love your 2
cents. Like, you haven't seen the video, so I mean, just go ahead and weigh in. I think that there's a lot of really great points in this video. Like, you guys can check it out. The Jigheads have the link. I may, after the show, I may put up something in our story with a link if you want to check it out and weigh in. But if you're a fan of Metallica, I'd like to know. And I mean, Sean, obviously you've got a mic. Go for it.
I'll briefly, as briefly as I can, detail my personal journey and ups and downs with Metallica, right? So I got into, I've talked about it before. I got Injustice for All. That was my first introduction to any sort of extreme metal, because for And Justice for All's faults, it is pretty extreme. It's the guitar work.
It's blazing.
I look for guitar work like that when I listen to an album. Like that's fucking an incredible. Like my brother said it like 2 weeks ago. He and I were talking about Metallica for some reason. He goes, young James Hetfield is the fucking best guitarist ever. He's so good.
Yeah.
He did nothing fucking poor up to the Black Album. And even with the Black Album, it's groovy, you know?
Yeah.
So I jumped on with And Justice, got the whole back catalog at that point. And then right as we got into 8th grade or high school, the Black Album
we're going
came out.
into high school. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know. I started listening to Metallica with Jason Newsted.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Cliff Burke because I was young. I was like fucking 10.
Yep.
I had no idea. And while my dad listened to hard rock, he wasn't ready for Metallica.
Yep.
He jumped onto Metallica much later, much after the Black Album. And so I remember being that kid that wore an And Justice for All shirt 3 days out of the week to middle school. And I remember one of my friends saying like, hey, when we get to high school, we know this older senior and he likes Metallica and Guns N' Roses and he's not going to let us get picked on. I'm like, what? Everybody listens to Metallica.
Exactly. What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck are you talking about? But again, you know,
kids are fucking stupid.
I know. It was like 7th or 8th grade. I remember him saying that. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't, fuck him. Fuck everybody.
Like, fuck that. I'm not getting picked on at all. Fuck you guys. I'm cool.
But they really laid the template for me in exploring heavier music, starting with And Justice for All. Now, the Black Album came out, and I knew something was different right away because the whole format's different. Metallica had that nice, 8 or 9 song format for 3 albums. It was like a template. For Lightning, Puppets, and Justice, it was the same. And then, of course, all the goddamn covers they did from old new wave of British metal bands they're their songs now. Like, I don't want to hear Diamond Head play Am I Evil? I want to hear Metallica play it.
Yeah.
So when Justice came out, I remember asking my father, Dad, Metallica's playing in Connecticut. Can we go? Absolutely fucking not. I could have gone seen the Justice tour, and I think I can't remember if it was Suicidal Tendencies or Faith No More was opening. I think it was Suicidal. But I could have seen Suicidal and Metallica in 89.
Oh,
my
my
dad
God.
said no.
Yeah.
So I did not get to actually see Metallica until you and I were working together.
Yeah.
You didn't go to the show, but I went with all our Bernie's coworkers.
Yep.
And we caught them on load. Now, I'm jumping past the Black Album. I love the Black Album. At the
me
time.
too.
I didn't really get it. I didn't understand because I wasn't deep enough into all the different extreme metal genres that had really started popping up in the 5 years prior to that. And I didn't know. Like I said, I didn't really get into extreme shit until I was probably in college. And then I started going down this path. Definitely when I got into the military, then I really just started expanding my palette for any sort of fucking metal. Like, okay, what is fucking the Gothenburg fucking Swedish death metal sound versus regular Swedish death metal? That's when I really started picking shit apart and saying, oh, okay, I can kind of get what they did here a little bit. And I'm not a musician, so this is all from a fan's
purely a
perspective, you know what I mean?
listener's perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So when the Black Album came out, obviously I listened to it to death. It was in rotation with all my other stuff. That was freshman year in high school for us.
Yeah.
It came out, I think, that summer.
The summer going in.
Fall. Was it that fall?
I think it was the summer going in. I think it was like, I feel like it had just come out. Like, I feel like Sandman was like all over.
I think,
that
ready
summer.
for this? So this is how well I know from all the Metallica media over the years. I think they had some sort of big fucking listening party at Madison Square Garden in September or October of that year. And that's when it came out. So September, October of 1991.
Yeah.
Sound right to you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that, of course, came out around the same time as the Guns N' Roses Illusions.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why they toured
that
together.
year was a
fucking
huge
insane.
year for amazing records.
Yeah.
Blood Sugar Sex
it was.
Magic
And
came
then all
out that year. Nirvana Nevermind came out that year. There was so
all
much
the
shit
grunge
that
stuff,
came out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that, that came out. I remember it was in my rotation. But again, I'm not into all these extreme forms of metal that I'm into now. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what death metal was.
No.
I didn't even hear the term death metal until 95, maybe 96, when the initial Florida wave had already passed. So I remember getting that and going, all right, something's different. but I wasn't even into sound quality at that point. I was like, okay, I just kind of rolled with it. And then I learned more. And when I got to college, that's when Load came out.
Yeah.
And we hadn't heard anything from Metallica in 4 years. And all of a sudden this comes out. And I remember like, there's no lyrics. It was such a departure from what they were in every aspect. And then I always still compare this, and you tell me if this is right. I know this is a sports analogy, but you know what Metallica's Load and Reload are to me?
What?
Michael Jordan playing baseball. Remember Michael Jordan playing baseball?
No, that's a great analogy. He was horrible.
He wasn't horrible. He played.
He wasn't Michael Jordan
professionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't. But like,
he wasn't Michael Jordan as a basketball player, is what I mean.
Yes, Metallica putting out Load and Reload, where it's basically a heavy. I mean, Jesus, in some cases it's a blues album. There's like a country song on there. It's all these different things that they're not known for. They're the best thrash metal band in the world, or at least most popular.
See, and the thing is that I feel like even thrash for them is like it's and maybe it is songs like Fade to Black that make them so diverse. You know what I mean? In that era, like I wouldn't just lump them into, the genre of thrash necessarily.
Oh, I would. Without a doubt. They're one of the big four. They're the most popular member.
I don't know. It's weird.
Four.
I just feel like they're so much more dynamic than some of the others.
Yeah. So when Load came out, I was very confused. I'm like, what is this? This is not Metallica.
Yeah.
And again, Michael Jordan playing baseball. But that was the first time I saw them, was with our Bernie's guys that summer before I actually went away to school. And they played the hits, dude. I mean, I remember almost getting crushed when they played Whiplash. It was great. Yeah. That's what I went to see, after seeing all the videos.
And I should say that, like, Metallica live, it's different experience. Like, they play some of the more, like, current stuff, like the shit I think they're contractually obligated to, maybe. But I think other than that, like, you're getting the best. And they mix it up.
Yeah.
This
is our generation's Black Sabbath.
Yeah, it is.
Or you know what? You know what's probably a better comparison? This is our generation's Led Zeppelin. Really. You got Stairway to Heaven, you got fucking Nothing Else Matters. You got Kashmir, you got Sad But True. I can make a million. You got fucking Immigrant Song, you got Sandman. It's all there. It's obviously different.
Yeah.
But it's comparable. I mean, Black Sabbath is obviously the cornerstone of heavy metal, and right next to them, just as heavy, was Led Zeppelin, but more diverse.
Yeah.
You've got Slayer for the 80s and 90s, and right next to them is Metallica. You know what I mean? It's a pretty good comparison.
Yep.
But so the 90s went through, and I remember going to that one show, and then the next two times I saw Metallica was on that fucking show where they blew up the fucking stage and all that shit, made videos of it. I don't know. I was like, okay, this is cool. Again, I was starting to diversify my taste, getting a little more extreme, getting into different, like the subgenres, even within thrash metal. Yep. There's all sorts of shit going on. I was going down those roads, and then something happened in 1998. Before I left for the military, I went to a Metallica show. All right. And I don't know how to describe this. It was the only time I've ever seen people leaving a Metallica show early. And this is before Napster. So you would think this would be the greatest show ever, but it was foreshadowing. So the opening bands were Days of the New, who basically made a career out of trying to replicate Alice in Chains, Jar of Flies, and Sap, which I'm fine with. Those are great albums.
Oh, yeah.
They opened, and then Jerry Cantrell on his first solo tour, playing both Jerry Cantrell and Alice in Chains songs. Yep. And for whatever reason, you know what he closed the night with, which was great?
What's that?
I wish I could find a bootleg of this show. He closed the night covering Brain Damage and Eclipse. Pink Floyd. It was great. It was fucking phenomenal.
I am a fan of Jerry Cantrell. I've seen him live.
I've seen Jerry Cantrell solo like 4 times. It's fucking wonderful. And with Alice in Chains, I think twice.
Yep.
New Alice in Chains, not Lane. But
not the OG.
Yeah, I know. So he stopped again. My concert days, I had a few concerts in high school. They picked up after the military.
Yeah.
So I go to this show. They do that and then that. So Days of the New, fine, passable. We know what we're getting. Jerry Cantrell blows the fucking roof off the place. Metallica comes on. I think they opened with a thing that should not be. I'm like, this is going to be great. They play their set. It was awesome. They come back out. There's four fucking stools on a microphone in front of them. Encore number 1 was all acoustic. Do you know how bad the Four Horsemen sounds acoustic? It was fuck. The horsemen are drawing nearer. It was fucking awful. Yeah, it sucked. People were leaving. I've never seen that. I'm like, wow, this is Metallica. You just paid all this money for tickets. You're leaving. Then they came back out and did an encore plugged in. But it was that was the first time I was like, wow, there's something's going on here. There's fucking cracks. Then Napster happened.
Yeah.
Now, the big thing that I like to look at with this is if they hadn't been trading all sorts of tapes for years.
Yes, exactly. And that point gets made in that video.
I know it's different because with the internet, you're going.
The technology is
faster.
different. The distribution is different.
Yeah, I get it. But you're still doing the same thing. They were doing the same thing. They were taking copyrighted music and making copies of it. And they were getting it to their buddies. It was happening.
Yep.
Still, that left a bad taste in my mouth. And then, honestly, the whole Newstead thing was shitty. And then I still have not listened to the entirety of Saint Anger, nor have I watched that Some Kind of Monster thing because I just can't. I don't want to see them.
It's so, I guess, cringy is the best word.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. And then, so that period goes away. And I was like, wow, they're done. They should probably just wrap it up. And then Death Magnetic came out, and Rick Rubin produced it, which means he said, find yourself and do your own thing because he's a fucking hippie, and that's what he does.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was that bad. The problem I think that's been lingering the whole time was, and I've heard this since after the Black Album.
Yep.
From Metallica fans, and they just won't let it go. And I still think, I hope that I haven't heard in a while, but I mean, I'm probably not talking to Metallica fans anymore.
Yep.
Man, the next album, I heard it's going to be like Ride the Lightning and Puppets. Over and over and over and over again. And then we get Load. Oh, I heard the next one's going to be like Lightning and Puppets. We get Reload. Oh, I heard the next one's going to be like Lightning and Puppets. We get Death Magnetic, which is a kind of return to form. I do like Death Magnetic. And especially it helped when, after all those years of not seeing Metallica from 98 to 2007, I think. Yeah, it was a while. I hadn't seen Metallica in all those years, and Death Magnetic came out, and then we went to the Boston show, and they fucking blew the roof off. Dude, they played 3 songs off Justice. Like, I'm so happy that they play that. I got to see him play Harvester of Sorrow live. That's one of my favorite songs. It's evil, but it's metal.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a metal guy.
Exactly.
They played And Justice for All. Like, what the fuck, dude? They killed it. They absolutely killed that show. Even with the Death Magnetic stuff sprinkled in, which again, lyrically it was really goofy, but the riffs were there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. You're right. It is a little bit of a true to form kind of thing. And I feel like some people are like, they kind of hold it against them. They'll just say, oh, it's too little too late. My opinion's already been made, you know? And it's just a stubbornness to admit like, okay, this is a step in the right direction. This is a step in a more palatable direction. You know?
Yeah, and then I didn't like the next one at all. It was too much. Something happened with some bands, and Machine Head's a good example.
Yep.
When they write fucking powerful, not quick, but to the point songs, like 5-6 minutes, and they get their point across, and the riffs are there, and they space it out, it's fucking great.
Yeah.
Machine Head at some point in the early 2000s decided that every song needed to be 13 minutes with 500 riffs in it, and it sounds like 15 different songs put together in one song, and it doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Like it's not seamless like Opeth. Opeth takes you on a journey. You don't even notice that you've gone through 15 fucking riffs in one song. Machine Head, the changes are jarring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They put out that Ashes of Empires album, and I thought it was phenomenal. It was quick, it was to the point. It sounded like 90s Machine Head, which was fucking phenomenal. While Metallica was doing all their Black Album and loading and reloading, you know, you had Machine Head, Pantera, and Sepultura carrying the metal torch into the 90s. I mean, it was groovy, but I mean, who the fuck put out a heavier album in 1994 than Machine Head? I mean, that fucking Burn My Eyes is listen to Burn My Eyes, folks. If you haven't listened to Machine Head ever, start with Burn My Eyes and don't listen to anything else. My God, that album is punishing. But while Metallica is grooving it out, Machine Head's being angry, which really, when you get down to the bottom line of metal, you need angry music.
Yeah.
So going forward, where is Metallica now? You know, I just went and saw them. I took both my kids to see Metallica
Yep.
shows. We saw that last tour at Foxborough, which, goddamn it, stadium shows suck for audio.
Yeah.
That Boston show was phenomenal, hasn't been topped. But the last one we went to, hey, if you're going to go and open with Whiplash and go right into Ride the Lightning, you got a smile out of me.
Yeah, exactly.
And they didn't play any new stuff. It was all a greatest hits festival set, and I was fine with it. Could I have used more Justice? Absolutely. Could I have used more Puppets? Absolutely.
Yep.
You're going to get 5 songs off the Black Album. Nice surprise. We got Holier Than Thou. I'm fucking fine with that. And actually, I got the Metallica sells their own soundboard bootlegs now, and I got that show for my son, but I got a copy for myself. And I listened to it the other night with him. We were playing some video games, and I said, "You want to listen to the show?" He's like, "Yeah." So I popped in disc 1.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound bad. I mean, Hetfield's voice is not what it was in the 80s and early 90s, but dude, he's doing his thing. And
Well, and you make a really good point. I just for shits and giggles, I looked up the timeline of their albums, and so Hardwired to Self Destruct is one I'm not very familiar with. I've only listened to that's the one that's got Moth into a Flame.
I hate that song.
Yeah. So that's that. That came out in 2016, but if you go back, like Death Magnetic came out 8 years earlier. Now, 8 years doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're at the age of the guys in Metallica writing songs, like you have a different outlook on everything. You're no longer as pissed off as you were in those first few records, you know, because all this other shit, you live a different life, you know?
You're not drunk.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that too. That too.
They used to be alcoholica, and now Hetfield's been through rehab.
Yeah.
It sounds like Hammett dabbles in Grampy's cough medicine.
I think that
on
might
a
be
regular
about
basis.
it. Yeah. Otherwise,
Lars is still a partier, and Trujillo, I never heard any. I'm sure he partied, but I never heard anything like over the top about him.
Yep.
I don't know.
How do you feel about him in the band?
Oh man, I miss Newstead. I hate to say that.
Me too.
He's fine. I
think he's great.
Newstead was the fucking soul when
Yeah.
he was the metal guy.
Yeah.
And they just restrained him, and that's just a shame. You know, where could they have gone if they let him do new steady things? Instead, he was on the cutting edge. Well, he's getting yelled at for hanging out with fucking Devin Townsend. Well,
Yeah.
who was more cutting edge in the 90s into the 2000s than Devin Townsend? You know?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that collaboration they made?
What was it called?
It was called Irate, IR8.
Oh, yeah. I've heard. I'm not super familiar with it. I know I've heard it.
It's fucking insane. You know, Devin Townsend layers his sounds.
Yeah.
It's layered sound death metal. It's great. It's fucking great. It's only like 4 songs, but it's great. 3 or 4 songs. Yeah. Check it.
I'll check it
on
out.
YouTube somewhere.
I'll give it a friggin' sample.
I was close. Remember I said Black Album came out in September of 91?
Yep.
August 12th, 91. I was fucking half a month off.
I thought it was just before school.
It was right. Yeah, I remember getting the Black Album for Christmas on tape, and I would just sit in the basement and play Nintendo on off days and just pop that in and go through the whole Metallica catalog and just play fucking Wolverine for the NES.
Yeah. It's wild, man. Like I got started with Metallica with the One video. Like I was an MTV kid. I watched MTV all the time, and when I saw the One video, I was like, "Whoa!" And Metallica in my circle was like, "That's the dangerous band to listen to." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
they're
it
into
was like
Satan.
Exactly. So I was like, "Oh wow, this is intense. That's crazy." Now I was also about this time starting to get more into punk and hip hop. And so my interest in music was all the way around. You know what I mean? It was just nuts. So I had gotten into that. I was like, that is amazing. Oh, you know, and I was never driven to go and pick up the album. And then when the Black Album came out and I started seeing the videos for Sandman, I was just like, all right, we'll pick this up. And it happened to be where I remember I used to go to Radio Shack. And I would buy my because they sold CDs, and I would buy music there when it would come in. So I'd pick that up, and I just listened to that thing up and down. And just to see it, like, it took off. Like, I went to a trade school, there was a lot of metalheads there, you know? And now that everybody was into that record. It was unbelievable. Just, you know, it was a good thing, you know? And I was absolutely floored with it. But what I do is when I find a band, I always want to go back and start from the beginning. And then I went immediately from the Black Album to Kill 'Em All. And that's what I would do is I'd pick one up, I'd pick up the tape, and in my Walkman, I just like burn through it. Or what I would do is I'd buy a CD. This is how you know I'm a DJ. I would take a CD, I'd make a tape copy because I had a CD player boombox, but I had a Walkman. So I would listen to the cassettes, on the bus on the way to school, and then I would get into making mixtapes and shit like that, and playlists and stuff that I wanted to have go a specific way. But I remember getting into that, and then it was Ride the Lightning, and then it was Master of Puppets, and then it was just like whoa, and then I got into Injustice for All when I finally got there, and I was like, all right, cool, we'll listen to the rest of this album. And I got all that way, and by the time I had got to Ride the Lightning, I think Pantera's Vulgar Display of Power had come out. And then it was just bye.
Yeah, see, around the early 90s, I did pick up the grunge stuff early, but with a lot of heavier music.
Yep.
My brother's a drummer, and he got stuff, he introduced me. I remember hearing Pantera on AAF, but he was the first one to get a Pantera CD and be like, listen to this. Yeah. And I really went down towards the end of high school, I really went down a proggy path.
Yeah,
I was listening to a ton of Rush and Pink Floyd, and I was getting a little bit into Yes.
Yep.
I was listening to weird shit, and then I liked concept albums. So Nine Inch Nails' Downward Spiral hit that spot for me just right.
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? It was all this weird shit. Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and got that. I was going down that path, and then I really hadn't gotten into, like I said, the extreme forms of metal that are out there.
Yeah.
But Metallica was always there. You can always go back and listen. Like me and my buddy Phil, when we were military-wise, so we listened to Master of Puppets once a month. We had to. We had to sit down, drink, and listen to Master of Puppets.
Yep.
That's just what we did. So I don't know. I mean, I feel pretty happy with. I mean, this show with my youngest that me and Nelson went to with my youngest son. He had a blast. We got a little claustrophobic the first few songs, but if I never go to another Metallica show, I'm okay. But here's what keeps bringing me back, and this is why I am the term I use, the dog that eats my own shit. I know I shouldn't, but I keep doing it.
Yeah.
The song that got me on this path that I've been on since I was 11 years old.
Yep.
Was Blackened. Metallica plays at this point, probably because of their age, one really, really fast song a night. And they usually throw it in there. I mean, aside from Master of Puppets, but even one usually fast opening song off an album. They'll play either Fight Fire with Fire, Battery, and Blackened gets much less play than those two songs because they challenge themselves on the Justice album and they just don't want to play it anymore.
Yep.
And I've noticed a couple times they take shortcuts on it. Like the song jumps in a couple spots that are must be touchy guitar parts or something. And if you watch the live version of it, you'd be like, you've listened to Blackened a million times, just like I have.
Yep. You're going to hear it.
You'll be like, dun, 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 dun. What, something just jumped there. It's like, what the fuck?
Yep.
But I will probably keep going back because I just want to see Blackened live. That's all I want. And it's fucked up, dude. They played Battery is fucking incredible. An incredible song. Yeah. It's so pissed off. It's got such energy to it. And they started playing Battery the last time we saw them. And I went, I was upset about it. I was actually upset about it. And I've seen him play Fight Fire with Fire 3 or 4 times. Yep. I've seen him play Battery, 5 times, 4 times, however many times I've seen Metallica. They always play Battery, right? And I was upset about it, but it's still, even at the end of it, that last part of Battery where it just goes full out thrash and there's no lyrics, that is just so great. Now, a couple years ago, this is, man, maybe 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago, I went to a show at the Worcester Palladium, and it was summer. It was an extreme metal show. It was the Summer Slaughter tour, and I wanted to go to see a band called Nile. Have you ever heard of Nile?
Oh yeah, I know Nile.
Death metal. You don't know Nile. It's death metal that's Egyptian themed.
Yep.
I dig that. All right, I'll learn about Egypt.
Hey,
right? It's Iron
it's the theme for you. You like that.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, we'll get into some Nile, right? So one of the opening bands is a local band from Rhode Island called Rhode Island or Southern Mass, one of the two, that area, I guess around Fall River somewhere, called Graviton. Now, Graviton is also a Marvel Comics villain. And I was like, maybe they named them off that. I wonder why they're not getting sued with fucking Disney owning that shit, but whatever.
Yeah.
And they're kids. So I'm in my, at this point, late 30s, and these kids come on stage. They can't be any more than 22, 23 years old.
Yep.
But they can play. So the first two bands before Graviton were two like black metal bands that are nondescript. I think I accidentally bought their CDs, just like, oh, I was so excited to be there about their CDs. Right? The whole time these two black metal bands are playing, it was the upstairs at the Palladium, which is a lot smaller.
Wicked
and there was
small, yeah.
easily 50 feet between the stage and like the people that were just backed up against the wall going, wow, this is miserable. Graviton comes out. All right. I'm not implying anything. Let's be very clear about that.
Oh,
I just
okay.
like this term. They were shot out of a cocaine cannon.
Oh, all right. Okay.
I do not know if they did cocaine. I did not see them doing anything. They were energized. And you know what they opened with?
What's that?
Battery. They just decided to call Metallica. The place fucking blew up. There's guys my age and older mosh pitting, beating the shit out of each other. There's nowhere to run. I'm defending myself like, fuck, I'm too old for this.
Exactly.
Oh, it was great. I'm like, I saw them after the show. I said, you guys got any t-shirts? They're like, nope. I had to order one from them. I do own a Graviton shirt. Nice local metal band. Got some cool graphics. And then I saw them play another time. And I said, just so you guys know, like that little festival you did, you guys realize you opened the show. Everyone forgot the minute you played Battery about the two bands before you.
Yeah.
Because it exploded. That's what that song could do. But like I said, I've seen them play it enough Metallica, even though it's their song.
Yeah.
I just want to see him play Blackened. You know, that's it. It's my fave. That's the song that got, when people say, what's your favorite heavy metal song? There's a lot out there, but that's the song that introduced me to this form of art that I love so much, you know, and again, as a fan, I can't play guitar. I got into it a little bit. I suck at it. And I said, you know what? I'm a much better fisherman. I'm just going to listen to the metal.
Yeah.
And go to the shows and support the bands.
Yep.
Say hi, buy somebody a beer and every now and again. You know what I mean? But
it's the most important part, you know?
Yeah, you got to buy a beer every now and again for the drummer, the bassist, whoever's doing their thing up there. But so I don't know. I mean, I understand why they're hated, getting back to the whole point of this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there's valid points, but I do think when you look at the big picture, you take a really wide look, they've never changed anything. They've always been evolving, you know, in some sort of an increment, and sometimes for better or for worse.
Yeah.
You know?
You're right.
And I think I can successfully say that I genuinely understand why Paul is like, hey, I'm not saying it's the greatest album ever, but, you know, I understand Saint Anger.
See, I can't even say I understand it.
I have a theory, and it ultimately. So, Rick Ross is the one who launched and really kind of brought System of a Down to like that new next level.
Ross or Rubin? Isn't Rick Ross or Rick Ross is a rap or so? Isn't there a rap producer that's Ross? Rick Rubin is the.
No, I'm thinking of Rick Rubin.
Yeah, Rubin.
Yeah, but what's funny is Rick Rubin also produced Run DMC. You know,
and Slayer and Public Enemy
You know. So like he's super diverse. So Rick Rubin was pivotal in getting System of a Down to that like big stage. That first album is it American Recordings? I think it's American Recordings. That's his label, and he had. And I think I feel like when Saint Anger kind of happened, it was like the dust from System of a Down and the uniqueness that they were bringing to it. I think that was their reaction to, well, metal music is clearly evolving, you know?
Yeah, and you know what I think about when I
feel like there was an
and
influence
it's not
there.
For much, but
yep,
I hear a lot of Slipknot in that.
That too. That's a really good point. Like I feel, and I think that it was just a swing and a miss. I think that they could have done it right, but like, you know, the joke about the snare drum, it sounds awful. It sounds awful, but I think that's a really fair estimation. Like, yeah, Slipknot, I could see that in there too, but I think
it's
when you've got
out
bands that are like, they are changing the way that the genre, like in broadening things in different sort of ways, and I think like System of a Down, I thought was unbelievably unique. You know, I wasn't really the biggest fan necessarily, but I definitely appreciate that they brought something new to the table. You know.
Yeah, getting really to the hatred thing, I think, unfortunately,
which is because you said, did you say who was it that produced Death Magnetic?
Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin, and that's why I think it's kind of funny. It goes full circle.
Yeah, but I mean, Rick Rubin, from what I hear and is like, or from what I've read, he's a hands-off kind of guy.
He is probably the biggest supporter of art. You know,
yeah.
You know that Johnny Cash album with all the covers on it,
yeah.
Hurt and all that. That's him too.
You know what? Rick Rubin, on a side note, is responsible for?
What's that?
Rick Rubin was the financer of the last gasp of territorial wrestling.
Oh, really?
Rick Rubin funded Jim Cornette's Smoky Mountain Wrestling in the 90s.
No shit.
He's a big fan, yeah.
That's wild.
He's a wrestling fan, and he wanted territorial stuff. He didn't want what was going on in the early 90s, well, the fucking wrestling dentists and clowns and shit like that. He's like, I want blood, I want sweat, I want tears, I want to make it look like an athletic event. And he financed that, yeah. He was the backer for Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Shit.
Yeah. So when Jim Cornette left the WWF at the time in the early 90s, he formed Smoky Mountain Wrestling that operated out of basically the Louisville, Kentucky area and outwards, right?
Yes.
And Rick Rubin got in on that. So
no shit.
But like getting away from that, the other thing is like for Metallica's great releases and all the great things they've done, they just have these horrible missteps. The Napster thing is obviously one thing.
That's a big one. Yeah.
Saint Anger, the fucking accompanying Some Kind of Monster. And how do we not mention Lulu?
I was going to bring that up. And I was going to bring it up when I made the comparison between those 8 years, between the 8 years that followed Death Magnetic. Lulu, I won't even listen to it.
I haven't listened to that either. I refuse to. I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't.
It's one of those things like, okay, you guys made a tape with Lou Reed. Why don't you keep it to yourselves? Put it on at a party when everybody's wasted, and then watch the reaction. You guys got to watch this. Yeah, I don't know. They seem to have kind of straightened back out. I mean, the Stranger Things crossover was really, really great for them. That's another good step. Well, you know what?
And there's fallout from that.
Why? What's the fallout?
There's talk that, Metallica, cancel Metallica because, Jason Newsted, there's video of him on stage giving like what they claim is a Nazi salute. And then like all the other headlines that they made about Metallica not necessarily being like the greatest people. It's just more of that shit, but I'm not, come on, man.
I mean, we talked about it last time when we brought up the Thor stuff.
Yeah.
The Stranger Things segment with the Metallica relation never once seemed forced. And there was a poster on the wall in Billy's bedroom in season 3, and I think he was listening to Kill 'Em All.
Yep.
And then we didn't see anything else until the Upside Down and our boy Eddie shredding.
Yep.
And
it
wasn't
fit the character
jammed
perfectly.
down our fucking throats.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like they're getting old. They partied.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna be here forever.
That's what I'm saying.
Haven't seen them? Go see them. Go see a Metallica show. Go be in the crowd when they play Sad But True, and there's that little quick break, and the drums kick back in, and you hear hate, and everybody in the whole fucking place yells hate at once. That's kind of cool.
It's special.
Yeah,
it's freaking wild, man.
Have you caught a Metallica show?
Oh yeah. I saw him on the Load tour. I saw him in
blowing
Boston.
the stage up.
It was crazy. And you know what sucked, man? And I'll say this. I had sitting next to me like a Metallica super fan who every single fucking song, it was like, I knew, they're going to play this next. And then next they're going to play this. And like, I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that she was wrong. She was definitely spot on, but it was kind of obnoxious to get the play-by-play. I'm like, I don't care. You know that meme?
Huh? What? I was gonna say, where'd you see him on that tour?
I forget. I think it was in Boston. I forget where.
Was it the blowing up the stage tour? Because I was at that show. It was. I think they did one night in Worcester and one night in Boston on that. That was Reload. I don't think they did a local load.
That's the thing.
Tour.
I think
it was just Vermont.
It may have been Reload.
Yeah.
It may have been on the Reload tour. But it was.
We were at that show together then, buddy.
Possibly, yeah. It was just, man, and I mean, there are people who love Metallica. Like there is the same degree of fan of like that are like Deadheads, like just tape all the shows, trade all the live stuff. Like they get so into it, but man, it was crazy. That was the only downside. I was absolutely floored. And I had heard from everybody. They're like, oh, no. They're going to play like you're going to get blasted in the face with classics. Like blast away.
Yeah. And then, for that period too, they got, for whatever reason, they weren't playing full songs. They had medleys that drove me nuts.
Oh,
I don't want to hear the And Justice for All medley. Play a fucking song.
Yeah, pick a song and go for it.
Yeah. Or and I know this is I don't know if it was like some sort of an emotional thing, but they didn't play the middle part to Master of Puppets for years. The fucking quiet part in Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
They stopped playing that for years, like a decade or more.
No shit.
Maybe even a decade and a half. Yeah, they just wouldn't play it. So once starting I think with the Black Album tours, they stopped playing that middle part, that nice melodic sad part in the middle of Master of Puppets. They stopped playing it, so they would just cut Master of Puppets short. It was always an abbreviated version for years.
That is popular with lots of acts. Like, hey, we got to the hook, fucking we're done, and then we're gonna play another one. And sometimes it's a time thing, like they want to fit in. Like I understand that. I can get behind it.
Well,
Wild.
We covered some Metallica here.
We did cover some Metallica. We definitely did. So hope you guys enjoy that. We're going to go ahead and wrap this sucker up, guys. As always, thank you so much for checking out the show. We appreciate all of our listeners. You guys are absolutely amazing. Remember, you can always shoot us a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review over there, maybe a rating if you want to be quick about it. We'd love to get some fresh insight on what we're doing over here at the show. Also, you can give us a star rating on Spotify if you're a listener over at Spotify. That is always appreciated. Next week. Is it? No, I think it's this week. Yeah, this week I am doing a little giveaway. We're doing a giveaway on my Instagram. So you're going to want to go and make sure you're following Bobby Roast Beef because I'll be putting that post up soon. And you can win some cool stuff from local companies that I absolutely love. So that's happening just because I feel good about it. I feel good about it. Let's do it. What else do we have to say? I think that's about it.
I think we said it all today.
I think there's nothing
Don't
more
listen
to
to
say.
Saint Anger or Lulu. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, do yourself a solid and stay away from those two records. Go out there and catch some fish, though. If you catch any monsters, tag us in the photo, and we'd love to see it. We'll share your stuff and give you a shout out. Actually, if you've got a Jigs and Bigs sticker, either on a tackle box or something, snap a picture of it and post it and tag us in the picture in the image. That would be awesome. That about sums it up, guys. Have a great one. Get out there and catch some fish. And like we always say,